I think we might be live.
We are live.
We are live. Oh my god, let me see. Hello everyone. Let's wait for people to stream in. Oh my god, 6 viewers. It shows you. Okay, let me see if I can pull
Hey
up the
guys,
stream.
we
Hello
figured it
everyone.
out.
Welcome. Okay, let's see if this posts to YouTube.
I hope you guys don't mind do a little mukbang. Is that how it's called?
Mhm. Everyone should get, yeah, you know what? Everyone should get there. Oh my god, I see comments. Okay. It's working. Welcome, everyone. Are you guys seeing through? Because we're using StreamYard, so this is new. This is really, really new. We've never used a StreamYard live. We've never been live, but we've never used through this app. So we're just checking it out, waiting for people to stream in. From 6 to 5. Okay. I did get a beep. Is someone in the background? Maybe I get. Oh, Jessica. Hey, Jessica. Oh my God. Do we want, let's see, Edie Beb is, I think I know who you are, but I hope I'm saying your name correctly. We see you. Oh, Jessica. So, special guest tonight. I mean, I'm going to give it people a second to hop in, but look who's here. I know. Do you want me do you want me to call you by your screen name? Oh my god, Matt, Astrologer's Encyclopedia in the house.
Yo,
Yo. Oh my god, yo.
miss you,
Cat
yo.
R. Hi, Cat R. Oh my god, I'm so excited to have you all here. Okay, so like my favorite streamer goes grab your coffee, water, tea, whatever you're drinking, get a snack. What are we all drinking tonight in the chat? Do people have their waters? Maybe an adult beverage, coffee? It's a little late for coffee, but I have to say I am drinking an energy drink.
Can
It's a
I say
natural one, but I needed a little,
can I say cocktail names here, or is it gonna be banned or something?
No, I think you can say cocktail. I'm pretty sure we can do cocktail.
Yeah, I was having some cranberry daiquiri. It was really nice.
Nice. That's awesome. I did get a little red wine, either for later in the stream or post stream, just in case, just in case I needed a little something. Emergency. Oh, Jessica, I hope you're feeling okay. Water. I've got my bubble. Does anyone drink these bubblers? I know they're like half healthy, half like crap, but don't judge me. Please don't judge me. Hey, David, says you're a sweet little
Hey Matt.
nut. Back to school tea immunity boost. Yeah, it's so true. I've been battling all Cavassier. Yolande with the Cavassier. Oh my gosh. Love it. Marie. Hey Marie. So good to see everyone. So we do have another special guest. So I guess I'm just going to go ahead and get a little bit started. Everybody's got their snacks and drinks. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you, Katie and David, for being here.
Thank you so much for inviting
It
us.
feels nice to be back.
Oh my God. It really, really does. I was thinking about like what a perfect 1,000 subscribers live stream would look like. And I was like, I want to do a reunion from like our earliest videos from the Deccan series. Woo woo, Jenny D. I feel like we got like our most hardcore subs during our Deccans videos, like we were like, yay. When I watched back, we're like, yay, we made it to 200. Yay, we made it to 300 sub giveaway. So to be at 1,000, I was like, I can't do it without KD and David. I'm so happy you could both join. We might do a little bit. I think you guys both have some stuff to present. And we do have another special guest coming tonight with a little announcement in about a half an hour, or actually on the half hour mark. Ooh, I need to send that person the link so they can get in. How do I do that? So I'll finish the introduction before I worry about that. So we have another special guest, but our first special guests are Katie and David. And I wanted to like get our crowd like back in touch with what you guys have been doing. So always a part of the channel. would love to do another Deccan series and, always invited, but you guys have both been kind of on a little bit of a journey that's, brought you like after the Deccan series. Can I just say the Deccan series? What a feat that was.
That was
Right?
amazing. Yeah, I miss it.
So much
I miss it so
recording.
bad.
So much recording, so much editing, like 10 days. I don't see how
Yeah.
these streamers do every day. They must have teams because every 10 days to crank out, like read all the things, think about the things, the Deccans happen fast.
Absolutely.
Every time Aries 1 comes back around, I'm like, whoa, that happened fast. So we're like in Pisces 3 right now. We're about to come up on our, astrologer's new year, our spring equinox with Aries 1. And we might talk, Matt from the Astrologer's Encyclopedia and another friend, Christopher Scott, are going to come on later in the stream. We have like shifts because it gets late for people. And they're going to come on later and we might look at the Aries ingress chart. And if people want to stick around in the chat, or even if David and Katie want to maybe even do a mystery chart. I can pull up a mystery chart and you guys could guess in the background. Mystery charts are super fun and we could like, we'll see if we get there. So I guess that's on the agenda. Our special guest, our second part to tonight's series, or our, what do you want to call it? Not the after show, but second segment. Here we go. Second segment. And then first segment, just with you guys reflecting on the Decans and maybe a little bit of the tarot. But catch people up. Katie, what have you been up to? Can you give us like we have about 10 minutes before our other special guest is going to come in. Do you want to give like a 5-minute overview, David, a 5-minute overview of what you guys have been up to, and then we'll kind of come back to it. You guys can give a longer spiel or give your sites or your websites or whatever, but give us an update. Where have you guys been since the Deccan series? Katie.
Oh, geez. All over the place. It's been a really interesting year or so. Gosh, I can't believe we were.
You moved, didn't you?
I did. I moved to New England. So I was previously based right outside of DC in Tacoma Park, Maryland. And I moved to Providence, Rhode Island last summer. And I quit my job and I started culinary school at Johnson & Wales University. So I kind of dove into a different area of my life, a different area of my chart, and decided to really pursue a passion for cooking. And I'm learning a lot about sustainability, food ways, food sovereignty, food justice, and the things that kind of come along with that. It seems like a really cool thing to be doing as Pluto moves into Aquarius and forms a whole sign square with my moon in Taurus. I'm just like really struggling with how to keep community together amidst all these terrible things that are happening both to the planet and to our foodways. So I've really enjoyed it. I love, love, love being in culinary school. I love the meditative aspects to being able to cook every day and think about astrology while I'm cooking. So
I love the like remedial food piece. I think some people know, and this is a good shameless plug, that I dress in planetary colors. And I've been doing that for a really long time, since I've known both of you, a few years. And I tend to kind of like eat in planetary days, not totally, not all the time, but like I keep it in mind, with the color. And so I want you to tell people about your little talismanic stuff. But first, Maureen Reed. Maureen, oh my God.
YouTube.
You just became a member. Oh my God. Thank you so much, Maureen. Our first member. You know what, Maureen? You might have been our first Patreon as well. You are supporting the project. Thank you, Maureen. Oh my gosh. So shameless plug, we have planetary merch gear, and I want Katie to tell you a little bit more about her thing as well, but about her talismanic thing with the food. But we have planetary merch gear, and also we have 99-cent memberships. So it's like $13 for the entire year. So like that's after taxes and like everything else. So if you guys want to support the 99-cent tier, that would be amazing. It brings like the algorithm to your favor a little bit, I think. So thank you so much, Maureen. That's so, so, so sweet of you. And I think Maureen, you can try this in the chat, but I think you get a little Thema Mundi sticker. What? I made like a little, they said you could make a sticker reward, and I made our little like Thema Mundi. So I think I'm not on YouTube, like I can only see StreamYard, but I could go over there and try to put it in because you get like a little sticker for joining. So see if you can use that, Maureen. Okay, so Katie, can you share your really cool school cooking thing that you shared with me the other day?
Yeah. So when you're a culinary student and you're studying the culinary arts, part of your tuition, you are required to buy a knife set. And it's usually a very expensive knife set, but it's something that comes default with all of your fellow students. All of your peers have the exact same knives. So as a result, you're encouraged to go get them engraved. And I decided to get my knives, of course, engraved with the sigil of Mars. And, this is also happening while I'm in a Mars year. I think my natal Mars is really tied into my love of cooking. So I am proud to say that I have neither been burned or cut the whole time. I feel like these knives are protecting me because I gave them the honor of the Mars sigil. And so I really love being able to cook with them. They've stayed sharp too. I think that's a sign.
So cool. I like absolutely love that story. We do have a guest in the background. Christopher, let me know if you want to come up now or later, or you don't mind, and I'll just add you when you're ready. But I see you back there. Hey. Oh, mom graduated from Johnson Wales Culinary.
Yep,
Awesome.
it's going to be my alma mater soon too. So it's really cool.
That's so cool. We have another member. Oh my God. Eddie Beeve. Thank you. I love this. Thank you so much for your membership, you guys. I'm going to do perks and all that. I'm going to go wild with these. And I think on YouTube, now I don't know if I'll be able to do it tonight. Again, this is like first stream. So like I have no idea how to use all the functionality, but I think I get to give joins every once in a while as well. So I might want to do something. Okay, I see a little.
You sent a little sticker.
Do you see it in YouTube?
Mm-hmm.
I see it
In the comment section.
Oh,
I only see like a weird thing that says like, like Jupiter or whatever. I don't actually see the logo. Let me see if I can. I want to see us live. You guys, I want to see us. I'm going to open another window on the side. Give me a second if I'm not.
It's so funny. I feel like I'm doing that too. The lighting is probably changing every 5 seconds because I have like 6 different windows open on one screen, going back and forth to see everybody's comments.
I know, right? And the sun is setting here, and I just have like, you guys should see my setup. It's super funny. I have like a lamp right in front of me. I do not have the gear, right? And I like makeshifted the gear, and it's pretty cute. It's pretty funny. But I should probably, I want to see if I can get this lighting. Okay, so here I am on YouTube. Oh, I see us live. Okay. I'm afraid of clicking the live because I'm afraid that I'll do some kind of weird echo thing. Oh, maybe can I do this? I'm going to be quiet for just 1 sec.
You're just going to mute the video.
I actually don't have the video playing, by the way. I'm just looking at the comments coming live, so you don't even have to have that going on if you are on the page, Elsa.
Oh my God, I see us. Thank you. Okay, perfect. Okay, so from here, no, I do actually have to do a little something here because I wanted to give out some wrenches and some moderations. Oh, cute. I see it. Oh my gosh. Okay. What can I do from my YouTube page? Let's see. Here we go. All right, here we go. I'm about to give my first wrench. Do you guys see that? Does it give you anything? Oh, cute. You get a little star by your name. Maureen, you can be a moderator too. There you go. Oh, this is so fun, you guys. All right. One more second. Oh, I got another beep. I think that might be our special guest. Let's see, Jessica, where are you? There's Jessica Trailer.
There's Scott. Dr. Scott.
Here we go, Jessica. Jessica. All right. Cool. This is so fun. Oh, look at all of us. Welcome, welcome. You know, some people here I know, and everybody is super sweet to come. When I was like, please come live. I don't want to feel alone, and I want my support of my people. But I also see some people here just coming in from YouTube, so I really appreciate love that.
Appreciate love. I love it.
Okay, I see our special guest in the background. All right. 1 second here. This is kind of fun, you guys. I have to say, I have a thing. You guys who know me, I have a thing, right? I have a thing about being seen. I suppose it would be nerve-wracking for anyone, but I definitely have a little, it takes a lot for me to come forward like this, and it has nothing to do with you guys. You guys are great. It's like my own thing. So it makes it especially powerful to have you guys support me like this and receive what we're doing here on this channel, because it can be hard to make yourself public when it's just not your total thing, So I really appreciate Katie and David. You guys have gotten me through so many, oh my God, I don't want to go live, or whatever. You guys are really my safety blanket, because I used to have this with videos too. I was like, oh my God. So super grateful. And everyone from Patreon and from our study groups and friends that have come to support tonight, thank you so much. It's really soothing and it really helps. So I'm about to add a special guest who has a little bit of a special announcement. So let me do this. Let me get my banners going. There's a bunch of special announcements we're going to make. Not only do we have special guests, David and Katie, but I know I have been promising this since the channel started, that I was going to get a website, and I have one now. You can check out my website, astrowithelsa.com. That was one of the things I wanted to get finished for this stream. And we also have something that just happened this week. So I invited a friend to come, and she couldn't come later on. So I was like, it's fine. Just come in the middle of the stream. Come right away if you need to. Let's just get the info out there. So let me go ahead and bring her up and introduce her. And then we will get back to the kind of where have you been, Katie and David, and we'll dive in. So we're going to do this little, not interruption at all, but just a little segment for another kind of cool piece of news that we were like, oh my gosh, there's kind of a lot of stuff happening for this 1,000 subs, so we can kind of blast the good news to the community. So I am going to bring up another friend. Are you ready in the back there, Katie? You good? Put a thumbs up if you feel like you're ready to come up. Okay, cool. Hey.
Hi, how are you?
Great.
Hi, how are you, David? It's good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
And KT and KD, you have not met officially, but Katie, I would like to introduce our not KD Dayton, but Katie. You are. Can I introduce you, and then you can tell a little bit more what I maybe what I miss or whatever?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, cool. So Katie is the current keeper, the current custodian of the Project Hindsight material. So Project Hindsight, as a lot of us know in the Hellenistic community, was a translation project that was started in the early 80s and 90s. And I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Robert Zoller, Robert Hand, and Robert Schmidt. So Project Hindsight, it had its waves, and then towards the end, it was managed and run by the Schmidts. So Robert Schmidt and his wife Ellen Black, who have passed, and lots of love to them tonight. So Katie is like the best friend of Ellen Black, Robert Schmidt's wife. Okay. And so Katie was entrusted when they passed with their legacy. So the translations, the recordings, the honor of just cherishing and maybe even distributing or making available the Schmidt legacy. So Katie, can you fill in the gaps on that one?
Sure. Yeah. So actually, my husband and I both have been good friends with Robert and Ellen both since 2000. We met them in 2000, and we've been friends ever since. Excuse me, my daughter's home. My dog's barking. So
we can wait if you want to wait. I can fill in the gaps.
Sorry about that. So yeah, it had been our plan with them that after that they would pass, that we would preserve and protect their legacy. And so my husband, Tad Higson, and I are the beneficiaries to their estate, which includes Project Hindsight and then also their publishing house, Golden Hind Press. So a lot of people might not realize that they started Golden Hind Press in 1985, and they had like an outgrowth of that. They had a journal, like an academic journal called Hindsight. And then in 1993, they sort of converted that to Project Hindsight, which I think is more well-known in the astrological community as a project in 1993 that they did with Robert Zoller and Robert Hand. I think Robert Zoller was with the project for maybe a year or a little bit less. And I think Hand was with them until maybe 97. And then, so when my husband and I met Ellen and Bob, they were working on Project Hindsight. They were the team. And so we've lived in Cumberland this whole time, alongside with them, and we're familiar with their work, and we know how important their work is. And so it was, like you said, it was my honor to, to receive that. So anyway, so that's what we're doing. And although it's incredibly sad to lose our good friends, it doesn't take away from the important mission that we have in front of us. And there's a lot of work to get out there, and they did so much. So
that's so true. And as you guys know, Robert Schmidt is Robert Schmidt is the what do you want to say? Not like the father of whatever, but he's in our lineage. He's like, the guy at the top of our lineage. Like, he's the teacher. He's translated a lot of materials, and he did his own incredible work. And just like Katie said, mass amounts of work.
There's a massive body of work. Just a massive body of work.
So massive, and it's not just a lot, but it's really high level work. And so Robert Schmidt, for those who don't know, who in the chat, is and not sole teacher or anything, but he was the teacher of Demetra George, Brennan, probably Ben Dykes, a bunch of Austin Coppock, maybe not totally in solely or anything. I don't know what they claim for their lineage or whatever, but maybe not even teacher, but in their books, you're noticing footnote after footnote after footnote of reference to Robert Schmidt. And so this is who Robert Schmidt is. I don't know.
If it weren't for Schmidt, we wouldn't have developed many of the concepts that are responsible for the Hellenistic astrology revival on the internet that we have today.
Well, even the name, right? And I know he went towards having, Greek astrology, whatever, but even the word Hellenistic astrology, a lot of the terms of phrase that we use, these were all sort of birthed in from Schmidt in Project Hindsight. Katie, go ahead.
He's literally, the source of so many inspirations in our conversations. Just his mind was beautiful.
Because of him, we were able to integrate into astrology something that had been lost for centuries. And it's no small feat. He brought back to this community, to the masses, an understanding of the system that hadn't been seen in many centuries. So it is a very big deal for the astrological community as a whole, the work that Schmidt has to put out and the work that Katie's trying to bring to light now.
Yeah, so we have, I'll let Katie do it, but, so we're like always, pointing people to Schmidt's work and listening to Schmidt's work and leaning and gleaning. And like, we have a private study group where we sort of go through it with a little bit more of a fine tooth comb, because like a lot of us have listened to it, but it's very dense and it's very creative and it's very moving. So it does a lot of things to your mind, to your spirit, to, dare I say, your soul. Like the work really moves in you, and it's hard. There's so much going on inside of you while you are studying Hellenistic astrology, as everyone knows. But, oh, sorry, I got distracted by a comment. Jessica Trailer, thank you for carrying on the legacy. You're getting thanks in the chat. I don't know if you can see the chat. Thank you for carrying on the legacy.
Oh, gee, no, I hadn't seen. There's like all the chat. Okay.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about the chat for a second too. I put it on this side. Thank you so grateful for the work you are doing. I can only imagine. It is so much. Yeah. And Katie Dayton says prolific for sure. Intellectually rigorous. Absolutely. Just on that note, like being prolific and rigorous, do you think you could just give us a 2-minute just give us a bio, like who was Robert Schmidt, like where he went to school, grew up, like just a quick thing, like a little bit of his history, like where did he even meet the astrological community at?
So a brief bio. So Robert Schmidt was born in Rock Island, Illinois, grew up in the Midwest, and he had a very idyllic childhood, a Midwestern childhood. I remember him telling my husband and myself about how when you plant a tomato plant, you've got to like dig the hole and then make sure that you put a fish at the bottom of the hole. You know what I mean? Because that's what everybody on Rock Island did. And so we always still like plant a tomato and like put a fish in the bottom of the hole. So he's definitely like a Midwestern guy. And he, he was planning on going to MIT, and he had a full scholarship there when he was in high school. And he had a friend that had gone to St. John's College, I think maybe a year before him, and sent him a letter. And literally, because this is before, obviously before computers and emails and stuff like that. And at St. John's, everybody studies the same curriculum. It's the great books of Western civilization. And I myself went to St. John's, and that's one of the things that had originally connected myself with Ellen and Bob, although we were about a generation apart. And but anyway, at that time, his friend wrote him a letter and literally had like copied down and transcribed for him Euclid's book, Euclid's Elements, and he copied down for him like a few of the first propositions and sent him a letter with it and said, this is what they're doing here. And it's absolutely amazing. And Robert was so moved by that, he changed his plans and decided to go to St. John's College. And that's where he met Ellen Black. They met at St. John's, and they actually stayed in Annapolis. They had 2 teachers that they were pretty close with and influenced by, and they stayed at St. John's for, I think, about 6 years after they were no longer students there anymore. And he worked at the print shop there. And so they became very involved in, that's when he became very involved in reading ancient Greek, learning German, learning, doing his translating work. And in 1985, like I had said earlier, they started the Golden Hind Press. And that itself was a translation project where they were interested in translating old mathematical works that had never been translated before. And, it's funny, in the world that we live in, it's almost shocking to think that there's things out there that haven't been translated before. We just don't think of things that way. It's like you just sort of assume that somebody's like shot it through an AI or something like that. But there actually does exist quite a number of things that have never been translated before. And they just had a penchant for finding those things that were of like incredible interest. And, they literally bought their own print shop. They had their own little printing press, actually. I talked to one of their old friends that was around during the time that they had that printing press, and he was bemoaning the fact that they had then subsequently sold it. But those old books that they printed, we have copies of them. You can find them used, but obviously they're out of print and if you listen to his phase lectures, the lectures from the 90s, he'll reference a lot of those mathematicians that he was interested in translating. And one of the things he was interested in is really the history of thought, you know, like how how the progression of thought has come, and you know, how that's expressed through the progression of mathematics and philosophy and different things like that. And so then somewhere along the way, he became interested in astrology and realized that there were these ancient Greek, written in Greek, not mathematical, but astrological works that had in fact also never been translated before. And so that's in 1993 when he launched the astrological initiative that really became their life's work. And those translations, I think at one point he talks about this too. If you subscribe to the archive that we have at robertschmidastrology.com, you can listen. And it's mostly he talks about this, I think more in the early lectures, but he talks about how when he first started the translations, you know, he was so good with Greek, he could just easily just like pump them out. And he's thinking like, you know, I'm just going to pump out these translations. But then as he's going through, he started realizing like, wait, this is like very specific, highly philosophical, very niched language. And it's not, you know, there's a there here, you know, there's a there, like, I'm going to find out what's really going on. And, you know, he loved to refer to himself as a restorer of lost arts, you know, and it's funny when you look at his old stuff. I mean, that was his MO with the mathematical translations too, is restoring the lost art. And, you know, from very early in his career and before he was even interested in astrology, he was interested in seeing things as the great thinker themselves, or as the original author saw it. How did that person see it? Almost as though he could like look over the shoulder of the great thinker that was originally putting the thought down on paper.
That's my favorite thing about him. Like, that was what originally, like, I have to tell you guys, the first lecture I listened to, and I said in the chat, Phase is my fave. The Phase lectures is a series of lectures, some of the earlier like lectures. But I had been given a talk called Wither and Winds. I think that was my the first one that I got. And then things like Cosmological Model, same in the other. Those are the ones I recommend you start with if you decide that you want to go with like getting even just a month. And I'm going to put that back on this screen because actually not to be too like whatever promoting, it's not actually promoting something because of like, oh, money or whatever. It's like, oh, we love the lectures. And so like we got a code ELSA 20, ELSA 20. So you can get a little discount for thank you, Katie, for doing that for us. But the early work is so amazing, and it's very cosmic, and it's very like, you know, like Katie said in the chat as well, the etymology here. No, not this one. What is it? She said, as an etymology nerd, this is Katie Dayton. She loves it. And it's so fun because those early talks, he's like really getting us to investigate, you know, like you said, like being behind the person that said it and the etymology of the word behind the word. It just really starts to open up different channels and ways of viewing the material, and really allows the material to come alive. David?
Because of his background, he was able to do something that most astrologers cannot do, because he accessed a level of understanding of the language that most people don't have nowadays. And he wanted to do that specifically for the purpose of uncovering hidden messages in the language that he knew would be there from what he understood in philosophy, of history, of the mathematics behind all of the system that is implied in the text. He knew that there was a structure there, some kinds of hidden structures that were only accessible through meditating on the language used and in the depth of the meaning of the words chosen to refer to certain concepts. And this is why his work is so important. There are many things in the translations that we have nowadays that are not from him that get lost in translation, like they did from the medieval period into the Renaissance. And then the people that practice this kind of astrology today from the Renaissance, many of them are very bitter of Schmidt, I might add, because they did not like having their work called out in a few things. And I just want to mention that
the depth. Yeah, just like it's again, David.
He went out Yeah, he went to uncover the depths of the language behind those texts in a way that we hadn't seen before.
Exactly, like Jessica said in the chat, if you're ready for depth. And not everybody is like looking for that or ready for that or whatever, but if you
not
are,
everybody can step to it. Yeah, not everybody can step to it.
to Schmidt's work. That's so true.
Yeah.
So,
But you know, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna kind of like set up to do the reveal of tonight, but you can go ahead because I think you might have something to say before we take it there.
Yeah. So one of the things that that I talked to Ellen about in her later years, and that was really important to her to get across, is that the reason they got so far in their research is because of how they did it, you know, and the way that they went about it. And I think that a lot of people, you know, and because primarily they consider themselves researchers, you know, and that's ultimately they were independent researchers. We talked a lot about that, about how they got as far as they did, because I mean, they really covered a lot of ground. And of course, Ellen was an equal partner, really. I mean, Ellen and Bob were a duo. And one of the things that we talked about at one point that really stands out when I'm talking to you guys and seeing the chat and like realizing how influential and how inspiring that Bob has been to people that, you know, like I don't even know, or he doesn't even know. And it reminds me of something that Ellen and I had talked about, which is like one of their really influential teachers that they just absolutely adored. His name was Mr. McDonald, and he was their teacher at St. John's. And he actually didn't have any degrees, and he never published anything, and he didn't have any degrees. And he was like one of the best teachers at St. John's. And Ellen said that the thing about Mr. McDonald was that when he talked and when he was thinking about something and sharing his thoughts and he was talking, you could it was almost like you could get inside his mind and that you could just like be inside his mind. And she said, but Bob was different. Bob had a different talent that was equally just like amazing, which is Bob with his mind sparked other people. You know, it's like he had this ability it wasn't a skill that he worked on. It was just like this natural gift that his own mental vibrance like actually sparks that in other people. And you could feel that. So when they moved to Cumberland, they moved back into Ellen's childhood home, which was actually a mansion on Washington Street in Cumberland. Cumberland is you know, an older, I don't know, Appalachian industrial town. So there's one street that has, you know, mansions on it. And so she had grown up in one of those. And then after her mother passed, she and Bob moved into there. And that is where Project Hindsight happened. And so when they would do classes or workshops or weekends or intensives or anything that it was, they were always doing it out of that house because it was huge. And so Bob would be doing his class and, you know, it'd just be like so intense. And then there'd be a break, you know, and it's like, I have this memory of just like everybody, you know, would like almost just like roll out of the front porch into like the little area in front of the front porch. And like the talk during the breaks was just like, you know, just as exciting, you know, and that just reminded me of that. And anyway, I just wanted to share that because I don't even know what it had to do with, but.
No, it just go ahead, David.
No, it must have been magical. That's all. I just wanted to comment.
And there's a little clip online where it kind of shows like different various like you know, like just little clips, like a little montage of like photos and things like that. And you hear the stories and you hear the tapes and it's just like, oh my God.
I know about the excitement that we all felt. Like Katie and Elsa, you were with me since the beginning of we were starting studying Schmidt together. Elsa was the one that led us to it. And the emotion that we would have like talking about these things and trying to figure out what he meant by each statement. Like we were desiccating his lectures and it was an amazing experience. It still is because
it still is. We're ripping out our hair to the talks to this very day. Yes. Like in a good way. Like you get so like you know, enlivened and impassioned. It's so enlightening. And yet it's like Katie said, like stepping to that depth, stepping to the work. Like after the first year, I was like, okay, we need a private study group and we go through like 2 tapes at a time and just really try to work it out.
You gotta stretch it out so we can really get it over a long time. And also, like Katie said, I've not really thought of the analogy of a spark before, but that's really what it was. You know, on such a deep level too. It inspires in such a way that is so exciting because it's not necessarily a place in your mind or your heart that's always touched by these intellectual ideas, these analogies. Amazing.
I know I honestly, whether or not you like come to Schmidt's work and you like hook, line, and sinker, like believe everything he said or like something like this, it's not even the point. You are changed by engaging with his work on a deep, deep level, even if you listen to a talk or two, honestly. Like I'll give someone like a little clip or a little something and all of a sudden they're writing me like oh my god, like in whatever direction. It's like it's activating, you know, it's activating. So can I and this will get to your question, Jessica in the chat. She says, yeah, I know you have this website, audio content. Can we expect a book with transcripts? So let me let you answer that as this reveal. I'll let you do the reveal. But part of the reason why tonight is such a big deal, it just so happened to coincide with our 1,000 sub celebration. Like and subscribe, you know, check out our new merch, like check out my website. But we just had Katie also just had a big moment as well, and I was like, well, we're going live tomorrow. Yesterday she did you know, something really kind of exciting and really rocked the community. So I was like, oh my gosh, you must, you know, come on. It just like coincided. So can you tell us the big reveal?
Yeah, so we just released the full 2015 course that Robert put out, where he revealed that he had discovered the originator of the original system. So anybody that's listened to Schmidt's work knows that he had always said astrology could not have originated out of, you know, millennia of observations. Like certain types of astrology maybe could have, but this type of astrology definitely could not have. It's too cohesive. It must, we've all heard him say, like, it must have originated from one man or a small school of men working together, you know. And I think he made a good argument for that all along. And one of the things that interested me so much as I was sort of like tracking along with their journey the whole time, was just this idea that there was something deeper embedded in the system, and that they were like carefully restoring and carefully uncovering to reveal what, you know, it's like, it always reminds me of like either a famous painting or like a cathedral painting that needed to be protected from, you know, some invading country. And so, you know, you could cover the whole thing over, but like the shimmering, like, you know, dome is like just waiting to be revealed underneath, and there they are, you know, just like carefully and lovingly revealing the whole thing. And, you know, I'm sitting there like, ooh, what are they gonna what's it gonna be? And so I remember going over to their house several years before they ever published on it, and them saying, we found the guy, we know who this is, it's Eudoxus of Cnido, and he's a contemporary of Plato. And I'm like, what, are you serious? And them just telling me, and I mean, only a few people knew, and of course totally sworn to secrecy, because you know, they just wanted to keep it to themselves until they were ready to publish on it. And so he did publish in 2015, but really only released it to an inner circle of trusted students. And, you know, I sat with it and decided, you know, I've always felt that that was the pinnacle of their research. It was really like the crown jewel of their blood, sweat, and tears, you know. And we released it. It's on the streaming site. It's hard. It's really hard because what they have discovered, they discovered on internal evidence. It's not a historical study. They didn't just like scan Wikipedia to figure out like an alternate history. That's not what they did. It's internal evidence that they have, which really is the best kind of evidence. But it's tough. It's a tough course, but it's there for anyone that wants to go through it.
Yeah, so embedded in that,
I
let me
have to
break.
get a drink of water. Hold on.
Yeah, please. And you know what? This is going to be a long stream. So I'm going to do breaks as well, right? We'll do like little, refill your water breaks, little movement breaks. I'll put on a little music, but when we're live, we're going to need the breaks. You guys can kind of walk around your house, but we're kind of sitting here. So we'll do little breaks. But let me unpack what you just revealed a little bit, Katie. So I know. So let's unpack it. And that will get to For Real's question about our journeys with astrology, which we will cover for real. But this is like part of it for all of us who are on stage right now. And for Christopher, who's in the back, who I will bring up shortly as well. So actually, Chris, let me bring you up and just let you kind of sit in the background, and then I'll sit with us, and then I will kind of introduce you in a second, but you can sit in public with the rest of us as long as we're
Chris,
taking
we would like you to invite you to sit with us every day for the rest of the week.
Join the table.
Okay, so everyone, Christopher Scott. Yay, Christopher. Okay, and then I will introduce you guys as well. But let me just unpack a little bit here of what Katie just let us know, like the big reveal. So part of this big reveal is that, we've had access to Schmidt's audio files, and then we got access to the digital version of his translations, which is also on the subscription site, right? And then let me get that back up here. Let me see if I can get that site back up. And then we have had so we've had his translations digitally, which are not yet out on paperback, but I will ask you to talk a little bit more about the publication aspect of it, Katie. And I know it's all really brand new, you guys. Like, Katie's under a tremendous amount of pressure. This is all very new. But okay, so we have the site, and we have had access to the recordings for a couple of years, which is also kind of new, right? And then we've had access to the digital version of the transcript of the translations that Schmidt did. What Katie just revealed to us is that Schmidt had a course, which people in the background kind of knew, but it was only given to selective students. Okay. He gave it to his most trusted and brightest sort of cohort, right? So this course was not available to the public. There's a course. He taught an entire course on Hellenistic astrology, and it was just given to a select few people. So Katie has released that course. That's number one. That course is out. It's a 4-part course, and it is.
So it's a 4-part course, and where he reveals this discovery is the 2015 course that is also called Part 2. So
Indeed.
I still have to release the other parts, but each course was standalone. So we may even need to work with the titles a little bit and add better descriptors, because it's a little bit confusing, because each course does stand alone.
Yes. Okay. So, and that's the thing is Katie has just gotten that she's getting this stuff together for us. This is all happening in real time. Even being able to have access to the recordings is happening in real time. So what was exciting about not just that we got revealed that there is access to this course, but we got given the Eudoxus files, which is what Katie was just talking about with the kind of, the sort of pinnacle of their work, right, is wow, there's this whole, it was uncovering the system and then uncovering what it all means. And then that's the meat of some of the stuff that for astrologers we're really, that's what
it's the nuts and bolts. Yeah, right. It was, and a lot of people think that all it was the translations, or all it was like the nuts and bolts, but it always was the whole thing.
That's the thing is, so we've got the cosmological sort of piece, and then he works us through the brass tacks of the astrology and how the cosmology fits with the astrology and the philosophy fits with the astrology. And then later in his work comes this theory and this underlying Eudoxus files that he puts out towards the end of his life as a later part of his work, as kind of a pinnacle of his work that has just been released. So
yeah, he's responsible for things like the uncovering of the use of zodiacal releasing, how to properly apply the technique, despite what you have might have heard in other places. He's the one that truly teaches you how to apply that technique step by step, how to understand the language behind it the best. Yeah, I'm not sure if you've gone to other sources. Anyone watching has gone to other sources to try and learn the technique, but it really doesn't seem to come through as well,
And
as you
Katie,
see this
yeah,
before.
and as David, you're saying, so he has a course, like even if you were to not even do, I mean, there's so much there. Even if you weren't to do the cosmology or something, and you just signed up for a month to do his zodiacal releasing stuff, if you're into ZR and you're already an astrologer,
A lot of lights are going to spark up. They're
yeah,
going to
for
be like,
sure.
oh, so that's what it was. Oh, so this is actually how you do that. Oh, so this lot actually is not meant to be used that way. Oh, I see.
So yeah, so even if you just get the ZR, so Katie, can you remind me of the price per month? Because you don't have to sign up for this big long thing. You could binge for a month. What is the cost for 1 month? It's relatively low. If you just wanted to go in and learn ZR, it's like a course on its own. Just the one talk is like a ZR course basically. And how much for 1 month?
It's $32.50. Yeah.
So
and
for
that's
$32 you can $32
and
bucks.
that is gonna go up. I mean, that's a promotional price, but it will go up. But we're looking at different ways to handle it and how we can best meet people's needs. And right now it's just sort of like one fee for just all access to everything. That's what we have right now.
So get that, even like, courses cost
Because your
$500.
price doesn't change. Like if you get it, whatever price you get in on, then that stays. That won't change on you, even when it goes up.
Yeah,
you guys should get it now because it's an amazing amount of content, and it's actually useful.
It's so much content. It's like,
yes.
Yeah,
and it's not every single talk is like too dense for you to just swallow up at once and just go to the next. No, you have to listen and re-listen to several other tapes in order to filter and
And you'll be addicted. Once you do 1 month, you'll be addicted. So sorry, more astrological material. But on the other hand, it's like if you just like, a course costs $500, $300 at very least. Like they cost $1,000. A lot of these astrology courses. So it's like if you only wanted to take like one piece at a time and listen to ZR and digest that for 5 months, you can get the month subscription. So you're getting like an entire zodiacal releasing course for $30, $40, whatever it is, even if you raise the price. And then of course, Katie gave us our 20% off, Elsa 20. So infomercial over. But honestly, it's like, I just wanted to point people to the work and the fact, like I know myself, Katie Dayton, David Fisher, Christopher Scott, and a bunch of you in the chat, including Jessica McConnell, like are like kind of shook by the drop, right? Like by this drop. So we're like, oh my gosh, we have to come on and talk about it because it's a big drop into the astrological community, into the traditional astrology community.
It's a big deal for a lot of different reasons, because what it shows is that there was another Athenian philosophical school in addition to the Platonic Academy and the Aristotelian school. And so, it's a big deal.
Kind of a big deal.
Kind of a big deal, no big deal, kind of a big deal. So
it's a big deal. Yeah. And actually, Schmidt did do an interview. He did one interview in 2016 about this topic, and I did put that on YouTube, so anybody can go listen to that. He did an interview where he, made the announcement, and he did that with Eric Francis, who has a publication called Planet Waves. And Eric was gracious and gave me the audio file and allowed me to repackage that and put it on the Project Hindsight YouTube page. So it's just right there for people to, if you want to. And actually, I would recommend doing that. If you're interested in this, go to the YouTube and listen to his interview with Eric Francis, because you can listen to him in a very conversational format, explaining what the discovery is. And he talks a lot about the Thema Mundi in there too.
Oh my God, the Thema Mundi talk. And let me just shut up, Chris. I'm going to let you go. Edie BB. I don't know how you wanted me to say your YouTube name. Thank you so much for holding it down and getting us the links. And right now you'll see a link to Robert Schmidt's chart if you want to see his chart. But also we have the link to Katie's site for the Schmidt material here as well. So Christopher, yeah.
Hi everybody, I'm Chris. You've seen me in some of the Firmicus Maternus stuff we've been doing lately. And so my background, Katie, is I got a degree in classics a few years ago, many years ago, because it just occurred to me I wanted to learn Greek. And I come out of an esoteric background. And in fact, I was introduced to Hellenistic astrology when Dimitri George taught a course at the University of Oregon. And was always like Schmidt curious, because one of my impulses is that whenever you'd study the material, there's somebody's like, oh, Robert Schmidt this and Robert Schmidt that. And I would be like, okay, let me find out who this guy is. And I would go, I would literally hunt down and find any publication I could find of his, and by a hook or by crook. And so I've managed to get like his Vedes Valens translations, except for volume 7, or Definitions Foundations. Like, I keep an eye out for that in my used bookstore sort of thing. Anyway, and I just finished listening to that talk, like an hour ago.
The Eudoxus Files.
The Eudoxus Files. Just finished listening, and I will say, it's a brilliant conversation. It challenges
you
a lot
mean
of
the interview. Are you saying you just finished listening to the interview?
No, the course.
Okay.
I started listening to it last night when it was released, and then I was, and then
he's been binging in the background.
I've been binging in the background. So, at work, it was a slow day at work, so I was able to get a lot of stuff in. It's a brilliant conversation, and I for people who want to actually go deep, because it is, it's that he really highlights sort of the Pythagorean influence in the cosmological model through Eudoxus, and you can see these ideas get tempered through different writings. That it left me with an interesting question: was Plato's Timaeus, was he just trying to echo Eudoxus's view on the cosmos and just labeled it as Timaeus, like gave it a name of this guy Timaeus the Locri, who everyone agrees is a fictitious character, right? And I'll say that's wild speculation. No support to that idea. He doesn't suggest that. But I was left with that experience, like thinking about what he was talking about. But it goes into some places and it has you really consider the core principles that informed the system of Hellenistic astrology, something that, as you pointed out, as he was working through these translation materials, and he starts seeing a underlying connection between the ideas that aren't being explicitly described by the authors, but is definitely there in the language that's being used and how it's being used.
And speaking of which, if you guys want to join us, like in the back, like, on your own time or whatever, we're getting reinvigorated about this Plato stuff because it's been in the air recently. So we are all, I know many of us have read the Timaeus and listened to it and done all this stuff, but we're going to do another deep dive on the Timaeus. So, yeah. Yep. Katie, I know I want to be sensitive to time. It's late where you are, and you told me you had maybe a half hour. We've definitely been here for longer. Is there anything you'd like to have us link in the chat? Is there any closing remarks? Is there anything more you want to add to the conversation? I want to be mindful of your time.
I don't think so. Let's see. I feel like there were some questions about...
Yes, there was a question about the publications, and I believe what they're asking is if they're going to be in print versus being available digitally. I mean, let me scroll back. Let me just see if I can find it okay, a book. So here is the question. There's website and audio content, but can we expect a book with the transcript? So I'm thinking a publication of the translations. Do we have that right, Jessica? Let me know in the chat. And then go ahead. You could just answer it as best as you feel you can.
Yeah. So what we're doing is, so basically, I have a lot of work in front of me, and I'm essentially in the process of kind of organizing what's going to be first, next, last, right? So, yes, and.
Yes, and hold on.
I'll do it with you. Yeah. So I definitely wanted to get Robert Schmidt and Ellen Black's crown jewel achievement out there for you.
Thank you.
And then from there, I'm going to continue to be putting content on the streaming site. So we will continue, like right now, as you had said, I mean, there's a lot on there already, but there's more, and I will continue to put more on there. And I also want to build out our YouTube page a little bit better than it is. So one of the things that the way that they produce their content was mostly, as you know, through like lecture format, right? Like talks, everything that they did, you know, they recorded. And so that's what we have on the streaming site. But yeah, they didn't have a YouTube page or I mean, they actually only had the streaming site after Schmidt died. Some friends of ours set that up for Ellen, I think in 2021 or 2022. So until 2021 or 2022, you literally had to email Ellen, like know her, not go into her spam box, like get her to email you back, request what it was that you were looking for, and then she would have her friend Dale Nelson send you the file, right? So I think they had a bit of an accessibility problem, to, you know, in those later years. Although in their earlier years, they opened up their home quite literally to just about anybody. But yeah, so I guess I view my role very much in terms of like continuing that trajectory of accessibility and making sure that their work is available to people that are interested in it. And so part of that will be building out the streaming site, and part of that will be building out YouTube, and just putting a few things on there for people for free. And then the booklet translations from the 90s, they're definitely on my radar to get them reprinted. So I'm working on that. And then
no rush. You've got a lot on your plate. Thank you for doing everything that you have so far. And I know it's got to be heart-wrenching. You just lost your best friend, and you were deeply, deeply in love with them and care so much about their work. So this is also hard. Like, let's just give a little love to Katie and her heart. And like, I know what's happening behind the scenes for Katie, and like just how much there is. So I know everyone's been patient, and it's been sort of elusive to get your hands on Schmidt's work in the past, but like, thank you for releasing this part of the course. Thank you for caring for their work.
Thanks. It's been really hard, you know, and it's funny because it was so heartbreaking when Bob died, and then when Ellen died, it's brings you closer to that grief too.
Yeah, it's
just really, I haven't experienced that before. And, you know, unfortunately my parents still live. And so, you know, it's just been really hard. And then going through their things and, you know, protecting it as best we can, and making sure that we can protect the library and, you know, the physical things too. You know, there's the library and all of their papers and all of their books, and, you know, everything that was like so important to them, and that's really important to me too. Yeah. And you know, Ellen has a sister that survives her, and you know, she requires attention as well, and support. And yeah, so I appreciate all the people that have reached out to me, and I just appreciate, you know, because we were always connected with Ellen and Bob, but it's been a blessing to then sort of be connected then with, you know, other people that I didn't know before. You know, so that's cool. I appreciate you reaching out to me, and thanks. That's sweet.
Absolutely. So
there was one other thing I was going to say. Oh, because talking about all these papers, it reminded me of you guys talking about this zodiacal releasing, because, you know, when you listen to Schmidt's old talks, you know, he's talking about zodiacal releasing from very early. I know originally there was a different translation that he worked with as well, but, you know, I know like Kurt Manwaring still calls it Ephesus sometimes, or however they pronounce that. But, but anyway, but then, you know, he didn't actually put out a course on zodiacal releasing until 2007. And that's really because of the way they did things. When you look at Ellen has notebooks on zodiacal releasing and her research that are like this thick, and that'll be one person, you know. And again, I'm not talking about a historical analysis. I'm not talking that she has a notebook this thick that's on like a biography of everything they did. I'm talking about just the zodiacal releasing, just the mechanics of the zodiacal releasing and how it played out in their life. And I mean, I'm talking, yeah. Yeah. And so, you know, that's the thing. It's like they weren't gonna just put out a little course on, you know, zodiacal releasing. It was gonna be not until, you know.
Well, what's interesting about sorry. No, go ahead. Please finish your sentence.
I mean, they really road tested that one.
Well, what's interesting is when you read book 4 of Vedes Valens, where zodiacal releasing is introduced and defined and described, right? And if you read that closely and carefully, and you look at what we have a reading group, we've been working through this and looking at some of the Greek and squaring it up with what Schmidt has been teaching us, versus say what other people who shall go unnamed have been teaching as zodiacal releasing, and we get an entirely different animal. And I can understand, like, if you're sitting there puzzling out, you've never been exposed to this technique before, and you're looking at the Greek, yes, you will have notebooks and notebooks and notebooks of mapping out the trajectory of people's lives and testing every one of the nuances that Valens gives us. And that was one of the great gifts that Robert Schmidt gave us in his lectures and his translations, was an awareness of the kind of complexity that was going on.
Let me tell you what it was not. It was not just 18 hours of blabbering. It was worthwhile material.
And you were okay. So we're back to what was I going to say about the Ellen, the publications? So back to the heart of the thing. Just know that Katie has like a heart for this. She was deeply friends, family with the Schmidts, and let's give a little grieving time, right, and process to this work. We know that Schmidt's translations and the projects, in a lot of his talks, he'll say that he didn't see them as entirely complete and he wanted to work on them more. So we also have that piece. There's a lot of moving pieces, I know, in the background for Katie. So let's be patient. And there's a lifetime of material right there already. But I agree. Jessica Traylor says in the chat that if Schmidt's a foundational force, it has to be available to be cited and be referenced. And thank God it is now. It's true. It's not about the cost. It's about the academic integrity, which he had so well. So thank you for holding the legacy, she says, Katie. And I'm going to put up again the YouTube, because you're trying to, get people to come over on your YouTube, because you're going to be sharing stuff for free there. So we've got the YouTube channel up on the screen now. Go over and sub to the Hindsight channel. And then just know that the translations are available. So he can be cited. They're available. They're just not on paperback, right? So they are available to you and archived.
But then also in definitions and foundations, that one is not available, and and I do have intention to reprint that as well.
Yay! And you can I know it should be great. Oh, you can't wait to play Mystery Chart. Thanks, Alexander. Okay, we will. So thank you so much, Katie.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, you just flashed your definitions. This is the one he found at a used bookstore in my state, and I was jealous.
Signed even.
Signed to someone who was there, and we all, feel the vibe of those rooms. And Katie, you were there. Not only were you there, but deep friends with them. So thank you for sharing with us tonight. Thank you for releasing all of his material and continuing to release what hasn't been released yet.
Thank you deeply.
Yes, there's a lot. There's it's my honor. And I was thinking this kind of funny. I thought about this the other day, but the very first time I ever met Ellen, I was like between jobs or something. I was in my early 20s, I think. And when I first met her, it was after a lecture that Bob had given in the community, a philosophy lecture. It wasn't on astrology. And I went up to her afterwards, and we sort of made the St. John's connection. And I remember telling her that I was looking for a job. And she's like, well, I don't have a job for you, but you should come over, you know? And then we were friends ever since. And at some point over the last like couple months, I thought about that. I thought that's really funny because she has a job for me now.
Yes. Yes. Yes, she does. Yes, she does. Yes, yes, indeed. A lifetime of work and a lifetime of their work. And I appreciate you telling us that little snippet about Ellen's work because, you know, they were a team. So I just want to just say that. And, you know, we were just a few years away from their passing, you know, and so I guess I'm trying to say something. I don't know how to say it, but I'm trying to say something about the legacy here, which it's not that far away from us. And it's not some old like thing. It's something that's very living right now and like in process, essentially. So, you got thank you, love life circles. Jessica says to your story. Thank you for sharing with us, Katie. Okay, do you want to add any more or do you feel good for tonight? Go over to Katie's, she's managing the Project Hindsight YouTube channel as well as the site. And we'll put that in like the links and everything. And it is in the chat as well. So.
All right. Well, thanks so much. Good night, y'all.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you so much.
Again, thank you.
Thanks.
Good night. Okay, so do we want to do, how's everyone doing in the chat? Oh my God, that was more than I thought we were going to get. Thank you, Katie, again.
I gotta say, by the way, subscribe and listen to the Eudoxus files. It is worth it.
By the way, you guys, it just dropped last night. Like,
yeah,
it may or may not have been elected by someone, by yours really, whatever. So it dropped yesterday, and you're already through it because you binged it, so it's doable. I'm sure it's heavy.
It's 11 hours. You want to read a lot of Plato when you're done. You really want to read your Aristotle and your metaphysics, and so he cites sources. So you want to test them, and you want to. To me it's hard for me to describe everything that went on. It's kind of like when you come out of a mushroom trip and you're trying to describe how awesome the trees look, and so it's that kind of thing. There's a bit to it. I definitely it's not for everybody. I'll say this: it is for everybody. It's not for everybody. You can find yourself screaming at the walls because of it, but you can also find yourself like, oh, really? And then he ends with a lot of mathematical speculation. I'll just tantalizingly, if you're interested in stuff like Kabbalah, Kieran Berry's Greek Kabbalah gets mentioned in the lecture, and an idea that ties numerology with letters, with vowels, with elements, stoicheia. It is mind-bendingly awesome.
Whoa, you guys, here we go. That's awesome. Oh, so we've got, thank you, says Levia. I hope I'm butchering your name. I'm so sorry. Oh, Deb Quarles in the house. Hey, girl. Okay, so a little bit of, welcome, Livia. Just a breather, everyone. Whew, take a breath. Oh my God, Katie, thank you for being here. So I want to also be mindful of East Coasters, right? And David's in Brazil. The time is pretty late, and I want to make sure before we keep going, tell us why it's worth it. Yes, Jessica, tell us why it's worth it. Do we need a breather, Katie and David, or do you want to give like a little? Do we want to circle back around to some stuff? Like, how are you guys feeling? You can write also in the private chat like how long you want to be here or how you're feeling. I'm feeling shook and a little emotional. I see it on David's face like slightly. I know you're tired. I know it is. Oh, I know it's late there, but like this is a big deal for David and Katie and I because like we started the channel with like no subscribers and as little we call ourselves Schmittens, the Schmittens. Like we couldn't even imagine that we would be in this place with Katie and like seeing the materials become available, especially this part of this course being released. I need a breath. How are you feeling, David? Take over.
No, I'm good. I've just been a little bit in the background letting things happen, but I'm pretty good. I can stay for a little bit while longer, but I have to travel tomorrow, so I'm not going to be able to stay up too late, but I can still be here for a little while.
Okay, well, I wanted to catch people up because, okay, so Katie Dayton and David Fisher, for those who just joined. Oh, you're going to sign up? Oh, someone's signing up for annual. My subscription is expired. Okay, cute. You guys. Okay. Katie and David started this channel with me. I need the support. Like I said, I always need your support. And I wanted it to be like a community thing, which we see tonight. It's like, this is my vibe, right? Study groups, like book clubs, like hanging with other Astro pals, like really trying to figure stuff out because like it will keep you up at night. And funny, the lecture I was listening to last night of Schmidt, he's like, I hope this keeps you up at night or whatever. I'm like, well, it does, you know? It definitely does. But so Katie and David were there like chugging it out through the Decanic series, which is such a beautiful initiation. And thank you guys so much for being here for the 1,000 subs and this big Katie reveal tonight. It's like a real full circle moment for us. Doesn't it feel like that?
Yeah, we really just spent so much time on those videos. We spent so much of our we were thinking about everything that was happening in our lives while we were living through those decans. Like seeing those energies manifest around us was really important, really nice to, experience the decans themselves. And when we got to the end, it was kind of bittersweet. I was rewatching the last video that we recorded a couple of days ago, and it was really emotional. So it's really nice to be here with you guys, and I feel really honored to be a part of our little team.
I know it was, Pisces 3, here we are again. I remember after the Decans videos being exhausted and being like, I'm so happy they're done, being like so emotional. Like, I don't want them to be over. And I've wanted to do them every year since then. I wanted to do it again last year. I want to do it again now. Like, So since then, we actually couldn't have done it last year, and I can't do it again this year because I might have to be moving. So y'all hit up my website and get a reading with me because, y'all know moving is expensive and transition is weird. But Katie, you just went through that transition. Not only did you start cooking school and you're bringing in a lot of astrological flavor and remediation style stuff to your cooking, and you've got your talismanic knives, which is so freaking awesome. You recently moved, and David, you had big changes that weren't allowing you to be as present, least not every 10 days like we were for the Deccan. So tell us, David, where have you been, girl?
Oh, I've been all around. I went to Europe for a while, for a little season. I was working on cruise ships. Still gonna go back to working on cruise ships. And I was in a ship until January. So I went around Europe a little bit, came back to South America, did a bit of the season here, and now I'm home. And home now is with a new husband, and I met him in the ship. So love life also.
Can I say, is it too much to reveal anything, like a small thing about your chart?
Okay.
Thank you. So David is in his Saturn return, and Saturn is in the 7th for him. So and I was like, girl, you're gonna get married on this ship. You're gonna get married. And
Saturn is also my Lord of the Year this year, but and Jupiter, it was the last year's Lord, but it's in Capricorn as well.
I remember David making that prediction before he left.
And also just generally being out on the sea among the seafaring folk.
Exactly. That's why I wanted to share it.
In Pisces?
More Saturn than that.
In Pisces? Come now.
Becoming a sailor, yeah, that was a big thing. My whole chart is almost everything ruled by Saturn, so it makes sense.
Yes, it does make sense. It's, and that's why I wanted to bring it up for all the Astro. I'm putting out some Astro Geek stuff just because it's like we're here for Astro. So it's like, you have a Saturn return, Saturn in Pisces, that brings you out to sea, and it's in the 7th house, and you develop this huge, meaningful relationship. So I had to share. So David's been seafaring and loving life with a beautiful husband, and Katie also on some big projects. So, congratulations, David. My Sagittarius Saturn loves all you Pisces Saturns. Congrats, David, says for real. Lots of congratulations on your marriage, David. For sure, for sure. So I wanted to give a little update. You guys are free to go whenever, obviously, and I can give you breaks and intros and outros. Make sure everyone you're staying hydrated. Soon I will make a little segment. I'll go get some water. We can all take a breather. But I wanted to make sure that we got the buku out in the first part of the show and got connected back with Katie and David, such core members of the channel, or core givers to the channel. What do I call you? Core participants, core community members of the channel.
Contributors.
Friends, Elsa. The word is friends.
Oh, friends.
Oh yeah, okay, all right. Sorry,
Y'all
guys.
started was awesome.
Absolutely, friends. I must say, the people that you see on the panel now today are some of my best friends in the world, and in the chat as well, some of my best friends and people. So thank you all so much for being here and celebrating with us and doing this really juicy reunion for our 1,000 subs. Woo! I wish I had the crowd cheering. I'm sure it is somewhere available.
The little pop-ups that you put in the edits of the videos.
Yes, that's fun for me, by the way. Those
It's actually
videos.
fun to watch. I was watching through the video the other day and I was like, yo, those are really cool.
Yeah, I know. Earlier I found an audience clip. Maybe I should try to find it. I was like, oh, how am I going to do this? Maybe I can play it from my phone. Okay, let's see. Let me see. Okay. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. Our 1,000 subs reunion. Tell me if you guys can hear this guy. All right. Thank you all for being here. Woo woo! Exactly. Oh my gosh. Awesome. So yay, we're getting the hearts. Thank you all so much for being here. Okay, so we're gonna do a little bit of a segment. You guys, do you want to carry? David and Katie, do you want to talk a little bit? I'm gonna get some water. Do you guys want, Katie, you had some tarot, because we were going to talk, in kind of this Decanic series, celebration, since that was our big project together. I was like, wow, we ended that Decanic series and it was so emotional. And here we are again in Pisces 3, kind of wrapping up this cycle of 1,000 subs. And we're moving on to the Aries ingress, the spring equinox, all of that. And Katie and David, I said, if you guys have anything to bring, maybe we'll do the Aries ingress, maybe we'll do some cards. But Katie, you had a couple things that you wrote in the chat that you might want to cover tonight. Do you have time to do that?
Yeah, I do. I do have to hop off soon. I'm one of those people on the East Coast and I'm getting tired.
I know. Yeah.
Culinary school, I'm up by 4:35 a.m. every morning. So this is a little late for me right now. But yeah, I would love to share a couple cards that are related here to the Pisces 3 Decan. And I also want to kind of call out a new tarot deck that I've been quite enamored with lately while doing so. So I think I have the ability to share my screen here, but also want to, open if David wants to say anything or talk a little bit about the Decan too before we.
Yeah, I just want to answer. We have a private chat here in the live stream. So Chris, yes. The answer is yes.
Okay.
But no, actually, no. It squares other things. It's sextiles.
It's sextiles.
Sextile. Okay. It was a kind of an interesting question. It came up in a lecture I was attending, and they commented that a lot of great cooks have a moon square Mars, which I have, and I've people tell me I'm a great cook.
Oh no,
you're a
this
foodie.
one has an interesting conjunction as well.
Yeah, but it's a conjunction. So there's a Mars Moon relationship. So the interesting thing is
it's a sextile between those two. Sorry.
Yeah, what I mean is a Mars Moon relationship somehow says something about good food.
Yeah, I have a whole bunch of weird shit with Mars. Pardon my French, but yeah. So the
did
moon in
too.
Taurus, yeah, the moon in Taurus really I think is a big part of it.
But the thing about we were thinking about this deck, and the last time that we spoke was the name of it given by I think Austin Kopic, the Cup of Blood, was it?
Yeah, that's Austin. Yeah.
Yeah, and we were having this conversation about martyrdom and also about pursuing passionately your dreams or your illusions or the reality that is perceived around you as the things that are the base for your reality that you idealize as perfect goals or things that you need to become, all of those dreams that we have about ourselves, about our community and how it should be, how it is, the things that we tell ourselves, and in a more Martian way, since it's the ruler of the deck, and how those dreams motivate us to embody new personalities, new characters in order to achieve them, in order to change enough to become what we envision. And the disillusionment of not achieving that perfectly.
It's just
Okay.
the end. It's the end, you know?
Yeah.
It's like rainbow dissolved or something. What does T. Susan call it? Like the rain. What does she call that?
I have it right here. Just give me one second.
And then I know, Katie, you have to go. So if you you can say stuff if you want to say stuff. Let's give Katie like whatever you need to do before you have to go, or whatever you are willing to offer. Like,
Yeah,
feel
absolutely.
free.
So I want to share this image if I can. I'm gonna try here. I'm not totally familiar. Can you see that image now?
I can. Let me put it to the stage. Let's see how this works. So we are finding new features out in real time.
Oh,
All right.
there you go.
Okay.
Beautiful.
So as you said, this is by T. Susan Chang, called The Rainbow Unwoven. The cards that represent this decan are the Tower for the planet Mars. That is the decanic ruler of this 10-day period. We have the Wheel of Fortune representing Jupiter, which is the ruler of Pisces, the planetary ruler of Pisces as a whole. And then the 10 of Cups, which is the minor arcana card of the tarot that represents this 10-day period. And what I think, so this deck is by Katrin Weltstein, and it's called The Tarot of Mystical Moments. And I think my favorite thing about it is the kind of mixed media texture and the surreal images that come with it, which I actually think is particularly appropriate for Pisces season and maybe even this decan in particular. But what I see that resonates so much with, especially what David just mentioned, is how you see this image on the far left of the screen of the tower that is kind of chaos, but there's a softness and an attempt to embrace or be okay with the crumbling of this tower by the human figure kind of clutching the ruins as they're crumbling down. And then you see the gears in the dress of the figure and the Wheel of Fortune card in the center. And it really gives you this vibe of like churning forward of life and the churning forward of the world and the continuous cycles of destruction and chaos and things that come for us. And yet, the minor arcana card on the far right of the 10 of Cups is this just beautiful, idyllic image, at least above the water, right? Of maybe marital harmony, like bliss and connection with people. And below the waters, there are these tentacles, these signs of maybe what's above the water not quite being the same as what's below, but nobody else sees that. It's all, it's all sausage, right? Whatever goes into it is what
Ground up.
comes out. It comes out differently a little bit. So, yeah, I want to open it up if anybody else wants to say anything about these cards or anything about on screen.
No, I just want to comment on the fact that right now we are having a very big movement in Pisces. Like we have the Sun, we have Saturn, we had Mercury a little while ago. Now we have Venus just coming in, and in a short while we're going to have Mars moving into Pisces. So there's a storyline that has started with Saturn in Pisces last year that has come to evolve a little more in the past few weeks. And especially now in Pisces 3, I believe that the Saturnian feel that we're having to Pisces right now and this last decan activated are bringing to closure some of the first major developments of that storyline. So it's like the things that came in just to introduce us to the new chapter of our lives, they start to lead way to the main, climax of whatever Saturn has to bring in the next year and a half. So yeah, it's a big moment for this whole Pisces, Saturn through Pisces moment that we're having in the long term. Whatever house that falls in for you, just apply the themes of the house and see what's changed since Saturn got there and how that storyline has been affected by the past couple of weeks. And this should be an interesting pivot to that to that storyline.
Indeed.
I'm sorry. With that, I have to hop off. It's been so lovely to see.
Thank you
all.
so much for coming. I was like, can I get Katie for this? I need to get Katie, so I'm so happy you're able to.
Just ask.
You look beautiful. Your hair is amazing. I love your ensemble. Like, it's such a gorgeous shirt. And thank you for being here. Thank you for presenting the cards. It's such an amazing nostalgia to see your spread like you always did in the video.
Absolutely.
Oh my God. If you
no
guys...
full PowerPoint this time, but
yeah. And Katie's cooking something delicious for us. Thank you, Katie.
Awesome. It's a pleasure to meet you, Katie.
It was so nice to meet you too.
Maybe you again, Katie.
Yeah.
All right.
We love you, Katie. Oh, Katie, wait. Oh shit. Someone maybe she'll come back in. Where do we find Katie? I know she actively does tarot. I was gonna maybe put up her site or something.
Well, we do have her website in the last videos. Every ending of every video that we put out in the Decanic series has her website. I think it was katiedayton.com or something.
I think it might be. If someone can look it up and just see and pop it in the chat. But we can, once this becomes it'll be available live or whatever, I'll put it in the description and we'll drop it in the chat so people can find Katie. But if you want, I know she does live stuff in her cities and Zoom and all of that. So if you're called, and she's not only is she a tarot person and a skilled tarot person, but she's an amazing astrologer, like David, like Christopher. There's an overlap between our tarot and our astrology, and it's a beautiful little occult overlap. But definitely feel free to check out Katie. I know that she has gotten some readings in the past from you guys here on YouTube. Cooking something delicious. Oh, thanks, David. Okay, totally. Miss David. Oh, look at Yolande. They're still celebrating your marriage in the chat. Look at that. They're loving to see it. David's getting married. Yay. We all miss David. But, as this kind of we're not going to be, oh, here's Katie's Twitter picture.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, here we go. Katie at Cursory Cook website, katiedayton.com. Awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you so much for doing that. I've got the best mods in the world. We've got the best community.
The awesomest. Actually, she's on top of this. I've been watching the thread, and somebody's like, "Oh, I wonder about this thing here," and then next thing you know, there's a link for it, and so
Edie's the best, and in the background, she's the best too, with just freaking all the stuff, just girl, fucking. Where's my
Mercury and Capricorn for y'all?
I know, where's my round of applause?
Also, Jessica McConnell is no slouch either. Just gonna point that out. All the people with the wrenches in their name are doing a great job today.
I'm gonna try to find my little celebration. Yeah, where's my celebration sound again? Shout out to the wrenches. Shout out to the moderators. Woo! We've got the best community.
Hey, but where's that ginger? Are they supposed to be coming?
There is a ginger that's supposed to be coming, and some serious eye candy for some folks.
Where's that soulless monster?
Can I do a trigger warning before you guys see Matt from Astrologers Encyclopedia and David here together on stream? They are inappropriate. So, okay, but by the way, it's late night, okay? It is almost 10 on the East Coast. It is almost 9 in Central. We're getting into the adult part of the like YouTube streets, okay? So, expect that. Just know that and expect that. Wrench team, I can be. Yeah. Oh my god, the love between Jessica and Edie is like so sweet, and they are truly the best. Ooh, a saucy lobster. I know, me too. I I have to say I do too. And it hasn't been unsaucy so far, I must say. Okay, so we
Whoever's got
actually,
it, got it. I mean,
someone felt called out in the chat because someone is in the back room. Do you want to come on camera whenever you're ready, or just give me a thumbs up, Matt? I am going to go get water. What do you guys want to talk about while I'm gone? Me? No, I'm just kidding. What do you guys want to hold it down with a little something? Did anyone prepare the Aries Ingress chart to share? Because it's so much easier if someone else shares it. Oh, your mic is off. Nope.
I'm muted. Right.
I don't know why it's happening.
I was saying goofy things, so that's okay. So I have a feeling Matt is ready to talk about the Aries Ingress, and that's going to put him on the hot seat right away.
Okay. All right. Okay. But I don't know if Matt's having trouble with her camera or not.
They haven't joined us yet, so I don't see the square with them. So
yeah, we'll see.
Sorry, Matt. Matt just texted something.
Okay. I didn't see. Let me see. Oh my god. Oh my god, it's so funny. You guys, our private chat is funny. So the chat box, all the chatters. Okay, I love you guys so much. Okay, all right. I'm going to bring on. We're set. I'm going to bring on Matt Nolan, they them from Astrologer's Encyclopedia.
Hello.
House, Matt.
It's just gotten real.
David.
Woo! Oh my god! So you guys, can you guys keep it PG-13 until I get back?
We'll try.
It's David.
I can
It's
speak
never
for
me.
myself. I
It's
can't
never.
necessarily defend. I can't restrain David, nor can I restrain Matt.
Let's not get this taken down. That's all I care about. This is our first
David.
live stream.
And we don't want to demonetize. So
I am flattered though. So just so you know.
So for those who don't know, which everybody probably does, Matt Nolan from the Astrologer's Encyclopedia, David and myself, and we kind of finished up the two of us, Matt and I, were going through Demetra George's second volume of her book earlier this year. And now this year we the three of us, Matt Nolan from the Astrologer's Encyclopedia, Christopher Scott, and myself are reading Firmicus Maternus Methesis. And you guys can join us for only $5 and hang out and read the book with us. I don't know if anyone of the beautiful, amazing, perfect goddesses can drop our thing in the chat. Our mods can drop our link in the chat, but that's for if you guys want to join Matt and Chris and myself, and maybe David from time to time. The only reason why David's not on this is because he is, on and off the ship or whatever.
he's
So it's
adventuring on the high seas, the pirate.
yay! Oh my god, EDBB. Here we go. Hey Matt, here is the Methesis study group. So go ahead and check that out. Okay, I'm gonna pass the mic to someone else and grab some water. Okay, we good? Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know what the Aries Ingress chart looks like, so I did not do my homework.
No, it's fine. I have it. It's just there's so many like technical, like my screen, everybody's like tiny because there's like so many things going on. And when Katie shared, it seemed like pretty legit and easy. So if I didn't have to share it, that'd be great. But you guys can pull it up.
It looked good when Katie shared her screen.
It really did.
It
So I
looked
think
fine,
I would, one of you guys just take a screenshot. Oh, David's got it. David's got the Aries Ingress. Do you have it set for New York, David? Oh, you're muted.
I do not. Hang on.
Set it for New York, right?
Why New York?
Or I don't know. Set it for
Oh,
wherever
yeah,
you
it's
want.
New York. Yeah.
Just because it's
is.
like that's the first city, the first major city it hits in the U.S. or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Where would you set it to, Chris?
I would set it to DC because it's the capital.
Oh, okay.
That's just
Hi, Yolande.
that's
Okay,
me.
hold on. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's just me. I mean,
Yolande, one of our favorite Patreon. Sorry, I'm sorry, you guys. Sorry to go over you, talk over you, but I wanted to say goodnight to Yolande. Yolande, a Patreon and a friend, and a Deccan goddess herself, is gonna watch the rest tomorrow and leaving us for tonight. But thank you so much for being here. Yo, we love you, and have a good rest and sweet dreams.
thank you for joining us, Yolanda.
Can
Okay.
you guys actually see the Aries ingress?
Yeah, you want me to put it up so you guys can talk about it while I'm gone?
Sure.
Sure. I'm not. Okay, I think yeah, because I'm looking at YouTube on my phone, and so I'm trying. Okay, now it's up. Now I can see it.
Okay. I'm going to take off the comments so that we're not blocking out Matt's gorgeous face. Okay, here you go. I'll be BRB.
Okay.
So this is the Aries ingress. First thing I notice is that Saturn is bona fide by both benefics there. It's kind of enclosed in a good enclosure, which is nice if you're in a Saturn ruled perfection year, I suppose. Like I am.
You know, it's interesting. Saturn. Wow. Yeah, it's a bona fide Saturn. That says something about something.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, long term is something that you should be thinking about. You should ground your expectations a little more on action and well spent resources. Be resourceful, but in a way that's like honoring your resources as things that can run out. Don't be idealistic with your materials. Just spend them wisely. That's what I
Right.
would say.
and it's interesting that this is a night chart. So we have the rising Scorpio rising with Mars in the 4th place in Aquarius. Saturn, the out of sect malefic, is being bona fide by both Jupiter and Saturn, right? So, Jupiter and Venus. Forgive me. I was thinking about Saturn. Venus is separating from Saturn in a bodily conjunction.
It's a conjoining Saturn still.
Oh,
applying.
sorry, conjoining Saturn. Yes, Venus is conjoining Saturn, and Jupiter's just on the other side of that.
Yeah. Jupiter's separating there from Saturn, but it's still bona fide by being like two benefics in each side of Saturn very close by, both by less than 3 degrees. So anything that's Saturnian in this season that you guys, and this is for general, like I'm not talking about the USA Aries ingress chart for the capital year. I'm talking about like in general the omen for the whole season for whoever is watching. Like this is a good omen for your Saturn house for this season overall.
And it is interesting that the bonification occurs from the House Lord and the Exaltation Lord.
Yes. I mean, if you have the Exaltation Lord, it makes that planet share in the conspicuousness of the Lord that's there. So long-term partnerships, long-term contracts, things of that nature are highlighted in a person's life right now. And if you're doing anything like that around this time, I would say you have a good chance it goes well in the long term. So it's a good time for elections if nobody caught that. It's like electing contracts and things like that is kind of good at this time.
Cool.
So I've never looked at an Aries ingress chart in my life. I have no idea what to do with this, if I'm being honest. So my understanding is that you usually do this for like a country, right? And you usually do it for like the entire year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what do we make then of like the moon being in the 10th? And
you can also make it for the every changing season. Like the Aries ingress in the beginning of the zodiac would be like the major one, but you can also cast a chart for each ingress in one of the cardinal signs for the beginning of each season, like for the next 3 months kind of feel.
Okay. So what do we think of like the moon being in the sun sign at the top of the chart?
It is an election year, and so you do have the element of popular. So in the United States, it's an election year, and so the moon representing the popularity, determining things.
Mm-hmm.
And in the house, you've noticed that the moon is in the sun's house. The sun is in the 6th place. And so that would speak to, I think, for me, that would speak to the kind of political strife that we see going on in the country.
And the sun being the king.
Right. In the 6th house.
In the house 6 being ill, being in danger, perhaps.
Yeah.
And then the moon.
Is also the house of public enemies. I heard Robert Schmidt mention once.
Yes.
In one of his lectures. And so it's interesting. Maybe the next president will be also on trial for something. I don't know.
And I think it's we have Mars ruling the 1st and the 4th opposing this moon, which I mean, any idiot could tell you, election year, probably will be contentious and turbulent and not very fun. And these like sweeping tides of people, moving back and forth and against each other is kind of what that makes me think. But then, it being in the bounds of Saturn and Saturn being insulated, perhaps less negative outcomes than we might initially think.
Right. The bonification. Yeah. The interesting thing is the bonification of Saturn, right? So
Donald Trump also has a bona fide Saturn in his natal chart.
When I think of
we don't necessarily
bonifying by enclosure a lot of times is like being insulated, where Saturn will be like trying to do something, but the consequences of that will be, not able to bleed out and affect the rest of the chart.
Yeah. But it's also interesting this is happening in Saturn's house, right? The 4th house. So we have the ascendant ruler is in the 4th house, ruled by Saturn. And so we have Saturn in the 5th, kind of caught up in the delusional world of whatever it's caught up with. Jessica's like, let's move to Canitas.
What the benefics proposes, like support, popular support, right? Conspicuousness in the case of Venus exalted. Jupiter also provides for a platform on which to stand. So there's a lot of support for that Saturnian point of view. I'm not going to say much about that because I get sad when I think about it.
And I don't want to repeat. I was like out of the room and I didn't turn on mine because the delay, and I don't want to repeat. But the idea of it this year being like so much about foundations because of the 4th house and because it's in Saturn's house, right? So the ascendant lord being in the 4th house, like maybe, I know this is like for our country, I know this is for US and maybe not for the world over, but something to do with a fundamental kind of thing or a foundational kind of thing, like, because we have ancestry there in the 4th house. So, and it also could be like people using families for political stuff. Like, what about, the family or whatever it is, or using the family in a divisive sort of, because Martian, right? Martian is a little divisive. And then I see, I'm happy, so happy exalted Venus is hosting that Saturn. I feel like Saturn and Venus have such a special connection, right? Like they have such a special play with one another, with Venus exalting Saturn, which you guys might have already said. But, because I feel like they have such a intricate play with their significations, exalted Venus hosting Saturn is like such a remediation here for that Saturn, and then maybe in turn a little bit for that Mars, because she's just going to warm it up a little. Or
I was going to say, look at the Jupiter in the 7th, which Saturn is leaving, right? He's leaving a sextile of Jupiter in 7th in Taurus. Venus has testimony with Jupiter. And so we have, Saturn's enclosed by the benefics, bona fide, as David noted.
Indeed.
There's something actually, there's a possibility of something really beautiful happening here. And it could be that the sum of our fears, right, in a sense, don't be realized. In fact, what we see is an outcome that might that you know, I'm just saying, like I see that there's better things ahead than have been behind.
Oh my God, you guys, we just got our first super chat. Edie, you should not have. Oh my God. Sorry, Matt, I have to cover your beautiful face again to see this. I'm so sorry. Thank
Guys,
Goddess for Venus. It's so true. By the way, guys, super chat, join. You know, I know there's 15 of you now. Our numbers are going up. Feel free to support the channel with super thanks. So what do you call those? There's the super thanks that you can do after the video, and then there's the super chat to sort of boost your chat, and then there's the channel join, which you get that cute little Thema Mundi sticker 99 cents or whatever. Oh my God, thank you so much for our first super chat. Thanks for sharing that, David.
Yeah, I'll have to leave, so if anyone else wants to share the screen, but it was amazing to be here with y'all.
David, thank you, everybody. The chat was like loving. So happy to
Love
see
you guys so
you.
much.
It's been
Oh my
awesome to see you,
God.
David.
Good to see you, David.
It's good to be here. Love y'all.
Much love, much love.
David, thank you.
Ciao.
Ciao. Oh, everyone's David. Oh no, David.
David.
Thank you so much, David. Oh, the crowds love David.
We love David. I missed him for his 9 months at sea.
I know.
Those are the saddest 9 months of my life.
Oh,
He hypes me up so much. Like I really need it, you know.
Oh my God, you guys. The love is just so good. I just love it so much. Oh my God. Okay. So now what? We can pull Matt, if we want to keep talking about the Aries ingress, you could
Yeah,
maybe find
I
it.
have nothing to say about it. I'm like so inexperienced in that branch of astrology.
Yeah, like the kind of mundane type of stuff.
I know
I
nothing.
don't do
Yeah.
as much mundane either, I must
Yeah.
say. What is your favorite part of astrology? There was someone earlier that asked, and I'm going to bring this back around.
Yeah.
I have not forgotten about you for real in the chat. You know, who asked us earlier. Oh, I wish I could remember the exact phrasing, and I probably could pull it up, but asked us earlier, like, what is our history personally? Like each one of us, like what
Yeah,
brought us to
yeah.
astrology? What's our astrological history when we were going through the Schmidt stuff? So tell us, what is start with like what you like the most? What's the coolest things about astrology?
Yeah.
Tips and tricks for astrologers, like, you know, tell us.
Yeah. So I got into astrology. I mean, it was in like 2017 because of my brother, actually my older brother, who was pretty into it. He was super like evolutionary astrology, kind of like more on like the new agey kind of side of it. I know, right? It's so sad he left. Like,
I know.
Oh my God.
I know. You guys didn't even get the real
then-
deep flirting going.
It's in public. We can't like.
You guys
And
can't
it's not.
see your
It's
deep
it's
love.
like harassment. It's not even me. It's like.
It's
like
deep. It's deep.
it's deep. It's like
It's inappropriate, really.
it's not like because I'll
R-rated.
show up and I'll be like ready to talk astrology and David's like I can't even repeat what he says.
Thank you so much, Edie. So here's the sorry, I'm so sorry, Matt. I'm so sorry. So this is the question here. I'll keep it up on the screen.
Yeah. So that was my brother, and then I think it was like I got into like the astrology podcast and did Chris's course, and you know, like everybody. And then how I met David and Elsa was I was just like on Facebook, and there was like a Chris Brennan like extension group, like study group, and so I went to that, and it was like this woman Katie was running it at first, and so like half the people in the chat right now are from that group.
Right, like let's mention we've got Edie from the group. We've got so many. This is from our Monday night study group. It was a public group. We have Jessica Traylor from there. We have Yolande from there. Who else is here from that Monday night? Let me just kind of scroll back. Jessica McConnell kind of came to it after, I think, here in that chat.
Aden was in it for forever.
Aden, yeah.
And so basically what happened was I came to that like 3 times, and then Katie like left for some reason, and then I was in charge of it. For some reason, I was like the youngest one there and like not that experienced, and came to be in charge of it. So for like 2 or 3 years, I hosted that.
We still kind of, you know, we're not letting that one totally die. We still meet once a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I got like back into finishing my undergrad and just, work and that. And it's just
What are
like
you going to school for? Do you care to share with our
Psychology.
audience?
Yep. So I'm done with my psych undergrad this summer. I'm going to start grad school for counseling in the winter, hopefully. So yeah, I mean, it was really through that. It was really just, I think the best way to study, and I will never like shut up about it, is just like find people and talk about it. Right. I think you can read 1,000 books, but like we talk about this all the time, like with the Schmidt stuff, it's like, I'll listen to it. And granted, I listen to it like in the car at work, so I'm not like super dialed into it, but it's, once we start talking about it, there's like so many dimensions that, get unfolded. And then it's like, wow, I feel like I've really understood something here. Or, on the other hand, I feel like I have more questions than I can possibly imagine, and I understand nothing. But
The
I
more
think,
you know, the less you know.
the
in a
more,
way.
right. And then I just feel kind of sick and like nauseous.
Yes, I can identify. I identify.
But yeah, my favorite part of astrology is just talking about it. I don't even know. Like it's I like doing readings for people, but I like so much more talking to like other astrologers. And it's the kind of thing where like I kind of don't really want it to be my main income. I don't want it to be like my job, just because I have so much fun with like the philosophy and this kind of thing.
It's true. Like the camaraderie in the little, like, I don't know if it's this way in the astrology group at large. We do have kind of like a small niche family, but the one that we've created is really particularly curated and amazing. Yeah. And it is one of those things, like we talked about that earlier with the Schmidt thing, about like someone had said, and I think it might've been Jessica said, the underlying kind of the study of it, the academic piece, the philosophical piece, like the looking at charts with other astrologers and sussing stuff out. Like there is, you guys, if you're not astrologers and you're just watching for the content, it is so just juicy. The love and the juice and the just rigor we have behind the scenes.
The like,
so
what someone was saying earlier about, Schmidt and like sparking other people, is like, that has totally happened to me, and my brain is just alight with Schmidt nonsense, right? And
sorry, I'm gonna pause you again. Jessica Traylor, we love you too. Jessica McConnell, finding this tribe is such a gift. It's your tribe too. Beautiful. You are right here. We have a super chat, not from our pod. We have Sarah P. Thank you so much for great episodes.
To your point, Matt, it's like there's something to getting in a heated debate about what Vedic Valens meant when he used the verb of whatever.
Yeah,
right. And or we talk about Schmidt. And because Robert Schmidt does this quite a bit, he will take you into the grammar of what you're doing. And there are other
shameless plug, Celestial Grammar by Robert Schmidt. And also we go wild in the background with like valens and stuff. Okay.
Continue. Oh yeah. No, but it's like I'm just going to point out there are other people out there translating the Greek materials who will go unnamed, and I appreciate their work. And they will state publicly they don't see a unifying technical language in the materials. And I actually, as a student of Greek, I will say I totally disagree with this. I believe there is an actual technical language being used, and this is where Robert Schmidt went with it, because he said they're using this word and not another word to describe this phenomenon. And the word they chose carries this set of meanings and not a specific meaning. And so it's like when we're looking at translations, one of the things we run into is if it's an academic translation, the translator himself is not committed to the accuracy of the astrological principle. Rather, they're interested in just simply getting words out that make sense that you could look up in a dictionary. And so sometimes you'll read a text and you'll be left utterly confused. I have no idea what this astrologer was trying to say, that kind of thing. And when you're working with a group of like-minded astrologers and you read these texts and you start looking at the materials and you start debating, like, what are they saying here? What is this going on? when you come out of the debate, it may not have felt like it, but your astrology has improved deeply.
Yeah, and there's something just like experientially different about how my life feels now, where like just an easy example of this is like a couple of years ago there was like eclipses in my 10th and 4th,
That's
and
happening. Oh, never mind.
right, and so, and it was really fun, it was really awesome. And so there was one in like the spring, and I was living with my girlfriend in an apartment at the time, and we were like, maybe we should move, like we just signed a new lease, like whatever. And I was like, okay, I know there's eclipses right now in my 10th and 4th, let's not talk about, let's like, and it's that period is ending, let's pick this up again in the fall. And in my head I was like, I really don't want to move, I like this apartment, it's like pretty cheap, whatever. The next set of eclipses comes around and mold eats through my floor, almost kills my girlfriend, like all this kind of stuff. So I was like, okay, yeah, we gotta move, right? Yeah, okay. And then we live with her parents now, and it was like this just complete eclipse, like something came in, just covered and destroyed what existed, moved away. There was like a new environment, there was all these new things where like I didn't have to make as much money, so I could go, take more classes at school, all this stuff. And so the point here is that, when I'm living with, and this is even like a basic understanding of like, okay, there's an eclipse happening, something's going to change, and then you build on that to know, you can predict pretty carefully like what might happen in your life. And it just changes like everything about the decisions I make, the way that I feel about the future, the way that I interact with like other people, because I have like some friends' charts, I'll like pull out their charts and I'll be like, oh yeah, that's why they were like that the other day, right? Either good or bad. And it just changes so much. It's really, really cool.
We have some cool like stuff going on. We have Marie asking us now. This isn't an easy answer, so I'm gonna like take us off track just for a second. Are you answering natal chart questions tonight? I don't know. We will see. But we have talked about doing more lives and doing like, different, like if people super chat us, doing like different levels of like checking out your chart or whatever. We didn't say for sure we were going to do that tonight, just because I'm like figuring out the literal mechanics of going live,
Yep.
Like who can share the charts, like how to manage the chat. So I didn't want to like add too many layers, because right now I have to go over to YouTube to like give stuff away or like make wrenches, and it's on a different screen. Like there's a lot of weird stuff in the background when it comes to streaming live. So I just wanted to make sure that we could like do it. Now, do we want to do this for Marie? Like,
I'm not confident I can answer that question very well, because I never used the outer planets.
What? Oh, did she say what her question is? Let me
ask.
The
question was Pluto in the South Node in Virgo in the 10th.
Yeah. What does it mean to have the South Node in the 10th house in Virgo with Pluto there?
Oh, that is going to be deeper. Like something like that, you would definitely like, we can answer it, right? But in Hellenistic astrology, let me see if, okay, I'm going to speak for myself, okay? We use the 7 classical planets generally in Hellenistic astrology or in traditional astrology. So, and by the way, this is not disparaging your question at all. We do learn about the nodes, and there are ways of looking at the nodes traditionally. And this is going to go to for real's question as well. My background in astrology, I have, I've always been in the healing metaphysics, 20 years yoga teacher and yoga, philosophical, like just deep in the like hippie world, I guess, like the California world traveling circuit or whatever. So I'm in these like circles. So how deep do I want to go with this? I studied Jyotish for a long time, human design for a long time. So I have different ways of approaching the nodes in general. And we also have different ways of approaching the nodes in our tradition. That's kind of an add-on. Then the ancients didn't necessarily work with like Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus. So when I read the North and South Node, the head and the tail of the dragon, I rely heavily on Jyotish for my interpretation of that. And I think a lot of people do in general. And then the outer planets, to me, I don't start with them, and they're quite nuanced. I know a lot of traditional astrologers use the outer planets, and it's not that I won't. I actually give a special reading for the outer planets. So I'll do a natal reading with the 7 classicals, and then I'll go ahead and give a special reading kind of for the outers, because I feel like they have a whole, they're complex and nuanced, especially when you're looking at it through the lens of our tradition. So in general, the South Node is like a diminishing quality, which, you know, are you guys answering natal question? Let me put this one up here. The South Node is a diminishing quality. It's the tail of the dragon. It's sort of this composting element, right? And then the head of the dragon, the North Node, is looked at as sort of an intensifier, like a constantly, like a hungry ghost in a way, like a constantly gobbling up. Now, I know in evolutionary astrology, which I don't really necessarily subscribe to the way that they look at the North and the South Node, but they do a totally different thing. And I think it's valuable. Let me just say that it's totally valuable, where they go like, you should be moving towards the North Node karmically, and you should be releasing the South Node kind of karmically. We don't use them in the same way, but so that's kind of like a little primer on the North and the South Node. Now, I'd want to look at your whole chart to say like what it means, because that's going to be like very nuanced in the reading that I give it. And I probably wouldn't even start with Pluto. I'd start with a lot of other elements if it was me. And then you're going to look at what you're asking about is the 10th and the 4th house axis. So this is a really pivotal, because these are the pivots, the angles of the chart. It's a really pivotal place for anything to be, whether inners, outers, nodes, and all of this. So there's something to be said there too. I am a little bit, and I think a lot of traditional astrologers are a little bit more leery of just saying like, oh, well, this means that, because we take so much into consideration. Like, we take many layers and filters of consideration to really tell you exactly what that would mean. So I'm a little bit sketched out to just say, oh, it means this for you. And although I do want to help you, and maybe, you know, Christopher and Matt can add to this and we can continue to talk about it. And thanks, Marie, because you're new and I'm so happy you're here. Please, you know, stay. I hope we can be helpful. So Chris, what do you have to say about this?
So the first thing was, there's like 2 things I was going to say. Is that one is, I know in the Renaissance and I think later Arabic traditions, the North Node takes on qualities of Jupiter, the South Node takes on qualities of Saturn. That being said, what does it mean to have the South Node and Pluto in the 10th house? Is you know, it's an interesting question, because it's like, what is the question you're asking about that? As in, you can say, what does it mean for this? And somebody could give you a general reading, but in fact, there's a more direct, important life question that's driving that curiosity. And so one of the interesting pieces is that in the traditional astrologies that we study, whether it's Hellenistic or medieval or Arabic or Renaissance, that there are tools to answer that question, the underlying question, that may not even consider, or may briefly consider, the presence of the South Node in Pluto in the place. And there's like, which place is it? Virgo. So what's Mercury doing?
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's the 10th place is, and if this is whole sign, the 10th place is Virgo. So that would put the ascendant at, say, Virgo.
It'd be Sagittarius.
So you have Sagittarius. So you would have Sagittarius rising. So then when they were like, okay, so and since it's 10th place questions, is this related to career? And is this related to action? And so then we say, okay, so what's the question about career or action that you're asking? And then what does the rulership, the natural rulerships of the situations describe? So, you know, what does Jupiter have to say about yourself as the first house? What does Mercury have to say about your 10th house? What about your 6th house ruler? What about your 2nd house ruler? What are they saying about it? And so there are different ways we can go about answering the question.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I want to piggyback a little bit on that because I see, Marie, you're not alone when you say, I won't worry about my Uranus conjunct the MC in Libra in the 11th house for now, or I won't worry about the whatever for now. I just want to kind of say like a general commentary, if you may, if you guys would give me the moment to do so, because it's like, a lot of times, like, we get interested in astrology and it's like so juicy and it like tells us so much about ourselves, or we're so like interested that it could say anything at all. And then there's like this next step that it's like, oh shit. I don't know. I hope we can swear on YouTube. I don't know. There's like, oh crap.
We're about to find out.
There's all this anxiety. There's a lot of chart anxiety out there, right? And I just want to say, like, even though as traditional astrologers we might view, like, you know, the outers as 3 more malefics to deal with in the chart or something like this, it's like, and I personally don't do my readings like in, like, a lot of people are scared and then they can get more scared by traditional astrology because it's so predictive and it's like so heavy. And I think that's like a normal process to flow in and out of, to be like worried about our chart or to not know what it means or to have anxiety about the chart. But these kind of like, whether it's difficult or sort of amped up, or kind of like, you know, you got the outers and they're like on an important peak or in a pivotal house or something, and they're sort of amping something up and you're like worried about what it means or something like this. I think when you meet with a really level-headed astrologer, I'll speak for myself, but I can say this about, you know, Matt and Christopher as well, and David as well. It's like, when you start to actually read the chart through a filter, and you're taking all these things into consideration, even if it is something that's kind of like wild or like a little bit like not freaky, but like kind of terrible or destructive or something like that, it actually is validating. It's actually not scary. It's more scary when you're looking at it and you don't know what you're looking at. So just keep that in mind. It's like, we talk about this in the astrological world a lot, which is like the WebMD thing, where it's like, I got a runny nose and like, oh my God, I got a brain tumor or whatever, you know? So it's like, that is a little bit of the way that sometimes it can be when you're first like looking at your chart. Like, you really want to understand what it means, and then all of a sudden you understand what it means and you're like, oh my God, is this really bad? No, it should be validating to your actual experience. We're talking about people's actual life experiences here and a full range of human emotion and experience. So I wouldn't definitely don't worry about it, you know, and it's probably more of a descriptive thing than anything. And like Christopher was saying, and Jessica, I'll put up your thing here. Jessica's a brilliant astrologer, just brilliant. So is Edie, the moderators of the channel. So thank you for explaining that. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you. So and Deborah is also like a dear old friend and also client. And it's, you know, some of these deeper, profound things, they are good to know. Like you hit different levels as you're learning of like panic and anxiety, or like excitement, or like, you know. And we have a tutor, Adam Ellenboss from Nightlight Astrology, who would always tell us, you are not your chart. So that's kind of a thing to remember. Jessica says Schmidt referred to the outer planets as transcendental, and they aren't read in terms of sign, but more in terms of place. So as traditional astrologers, Marie, we're going to look at, like Christopher said, Virgo is ruled by Mercury. So we're going to look at Mercury, right? We're going to look at any planets aligning to the 10th house, and we're going to look at them in a filtered way of engagement, separation, all these kinds of things. And then we're going to look at the place. So we're talking about the 10th place and the 4th place. And we're going to look at how those outers, because they last so long, are sort of going to color the shade of a certain topic in your life, a certain area of the life that is becoming sort of sepia toned, or coming black and white, or coming more spectrum colors. So we're talking about like an area that probably has more oomph behind it. Matt, you were going to say something, I saw.
A couple points to kind of emphasize is in terms of not being like scared by your chart or that kind of a thing, is there was one Schmidt talk, and I can't remember exactly what one it was, but so first of all, there is the point that Adam makes that like, yeah, you are not your chart, and so that's like probably, if I were to describe like the main difference between something like evolutionary or all the modern astrologies and traditional astrology broadly, is that what we're looking at is the person on the one hand and the life on the other, right? And so when we hear Schmidt talking about like the steersman of the ship, right, that being the ascendant, right? So then we have the person steering the life, but then they're not responsible for the conditions of the sea or the weather or pirates that come and attack the ship. They're responsible for steering through the life. And so if we want to talk about your personality and your experience of life, that's going to be like one thing that we look at in the chart. If we want to look at the events of your life, that's going to be everything else in your chart. And I really can't remember which talk it was, but Schmidt has this whole thing where he's playing with this phrase of like the life that you lead. And he's talking about basically like there is the life exists in its entirety before you're born, and then we sort of step into that and then are on the ship and just like riding it and trying to steer it as best we can. And so I think a lot of times that when people go from a lot of these new age or newer age like ways of thinking about astrology and like the world and like having lots of free will and like manifesting and being able to really like seize things in life, right? Like I don't think that's like false notions really by any means. But when we start looking at Hellenistic astrology, it can feel really like, oh, I'm not in the driver's seat here, right? Like I've like arrived at this life and now I have to live it, right? And it's like not really up to me. I just have to do sort of the best that I can with the cards that I've been given. Yeah. And so when we look at someone's chart from this perspective, what we can really do is we can say like, this is exactly the hand that has been dealt. Now, you have to go live this life. And it's a little bit different from like, okay, we can take this and then like, this planet in the 9th house is about like you and your sense of spirituality and your individual, mindset or whatever. It's just a little bit different. It removes, I think, very long way of saying it removes like the person from the life that they live.
Yeah, I'm trying. I keep hiding this because it's covering your face, but it's so true. It should be sort of like validating, and it's a little bit deeper talking about the life. And thank you so much, Marie, for your question and for being here because it opens up a huge dialogue, and it's very relevant and relatable. And I don't want to feel like I'm like pushing people to be like, get a reading with me because I can only tell you there or whatever. But it really is so dependent. Like, let's say, for instance, okay, so 10th house, some people consider it like it's a pivotal house. So it's a very active house. It's a very important house. And it talks about who you are in the world. Okay. And this can have to do with career, but career is also this sensitive point that you talked about the MC. So we can see it in a couple different places, but it can also talk about just like your general, like how you're viewed and what you do. Like you might work at a coffee shop to make your money, but what you do is astrology or something like that. What you do is a painter, but like how you make your money is just a job on the side. So it's very much like what you do. So let's say you have a Virgo house and you're asking about it. What do I do? I would have to look at Mercury to tell you that. I would have to look at what is aspecting the house and who else is in the house besides Pluto to really give you the real answer that you're asking for and to not sort of like lead you astray. So it's not sort of a selling point. It's more sort of an integrity. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, I totally hear you though. It's like, just tell me about Pluto.
Well,
Pluto's like if we start talking about the outers without giving context, though, it's gonna make you freak out.
Right, no, the part of it is again supporting what you're saying. Absolutely is. It's just kind of like this idea of, oh, I've got like this bomb sitting in my 10th house. I think it has to do with my career, and it's right there with the sinkhole of the cosmos. And you're like, what do I do with this? And it's like, okay, so you definitely cracked open an astrology book in the last few years, or maybe you've read several and you're still struggling with. I struggled with similar questions, by the way. You know, I'm not dismissing it, but
especially your own chart, because
especially when you look at your own chart, you're like, what does it mean that this is averse to that? Or what does it mean that I've got Pluto right here? And what does it mean that I've got this? And the interesting piece about that is that it's not that there isn't something to notice there. There is. And in fact, that you found it, noticed it, you're paying attention to it. Congratulations. That's the first step.
Yeah.
And then we have this other questions like, what do we do with it? Now, if you come to a traditional astrologer, they may not feel like they're answering your direct question, but they're actually trying to answer the question you're really trying to ask. And then when you get to it, like maybe the looking at how you, like everybody else, has Pluto and Virgo. And then there's 1/12 that actually have Pluto and Virgo in the 10th house.
Because can you explain that? Like, can you explain how Pluto's like generational?
Oh yeah, so Pluto moves so slowly, right? So, you know, this is the year 2024. 2022 was when the United States had a Pluto return, right? So in 2 years ago, Pluto was entered, I think just at the, I can't remember which degree, but the degree in Capricorn was the same degree Pluto was in when the Declaration of Independence was signed, right? So that's how slow Pluto moves. And Neptune moves a little faster, and Uranus a little faster than that. But all three of the planets are actually slower than Saturn, where it takes him about 30 years to go around the ecliptic. And so one of the interesting pieces about the outers is that they speak to generational or even cultural or epochal kind of sort of themes. And you'll see this if you examine Rick Tarnas's work in Cosmos and Psyche, where he kind of talks about some of these outer planet conjunctions and whatnot. In the wake of modern astrology, outer planets have been very popular. But when it comes down to the nitty gritty, oftentimes the outer planets have been used to not pay attention to as a distraction away from the inner planets, the planets we experience and observe on a daily basis. And one of the pieces is that when people got back into doing, began to explore traditional astrology, you began to see like, oh, well, that I have Mercury over here actually means something, or that I have Venus in my second place and averse to the first. That means something. And you begin to see that a lot of the human issues, the actual issues of being a human being that we all have experienced since the human beings have been human beings, that the systems of astrology, the traditional systems, whether it's Jyotish or the medieval Renaissance or Hellenistic, actually really represent and describe those experiences a little bit more acutely and accurately than some of the notions we have come up with around the outer planets. And it's not to dismiss them, because I think there's something to them. Says somebody who has, Uranus on his ascendant, So.
Yeah, there's definitely something to them. They're generational and they're deeper and whatever. And it's not that we won't do this stuff live. Like, I think it would be fun to do live. We have to like set it up correctly. And like, I just did a booth where I did like little 15-minute like overviews, and that is possible. It's not like with traditional astrology, the only way to glean something from your chart is to like do a full reading. But by the way, if you do want a full reading, you can you can hit me up at my new website, brand new, Astro with Elsa. You can also get on my email list where I'm going to give a free reading. I'm very proud of that. That's taken me a long time to build that site. So if you do want a full reading, go there. But I think you can, in a 15-minute overview or in a YouTube setting, even for traditional astrologers, have very valuable things to say. I just did like a live event and did 15-minute, like an intro to your, natal chart. And within 5 minutes had people, you know, in tears because they just had not like just interfaced with like, whoa, like that was so validating. And like, how did you know that? So I think looking at a full chart, like on a stream, like a 10-minute thing, there can be things to be said, but we don't isolate topics as traditional astrologers necessarily. We kind of, everything's kind of a woven tapestry, just as your life is, right? Like you could have like you could have a baby at the same time as someone dies. Like, how am I going to be able to, I need to know everything. Cause I could say that was the happiest time of your life, or that was a time of grieving, right? Like, so it's very intense to kind of characterize the life by just looking at one little thing. Like the weaving that comes in with traditional astrology is really, really powerful and really, really accurate. And I don't want to lose anything in giving just an house-based like overview.
Yeah, there's two points I think I wanted to make in response to that. Is one is that what Christopher was saying about the outer planets being like oftentimes kind of a distraction from the 7 traditional is like totally true, like 100% nailed it, right? So almost all the time when I think of like Pluto, and this is not the way that Schmidt thinks of it, he does talk about it's like in the modern idiom talk, he talks about like Uranus is like a transcendental sun, Neptune is a transcendental moon, and Pluto's Mercury. But a lot of times when we're thinking about like Pluto things, like what are we thinking about? We're thinking about things that are like invasive or like traumatic or like rumbling up from the depths, or
the Lord of the Underworld.
Lord of the Underworld, right? Like a lot of times we're talking about Mars, right? Or we're talking about just the malefics, right? And so we can get a lot, and like same thing with Uranus, we're talking about things that are like punching through and like breaking doors down and all this. We're talking about like Mercury and Mars and maybe the sun, right? And I think a lot of times when we go to these planets that are A, slower moving, and B, not linked in with the rest of the system, for me at least, there's a lot less that I can gather when we're using this sort of mental process that we are trying to use in traditional astrology. So like if we're looking at Mars, for example, or we're examining a particular topic, you know, we're going to take where the planet is, the sign that it's in. We're going to know the signs that it rules, the exaltation that it is sort of responding to. We're going to know the bounds that it's in, other planets that are in that planet's bounds. And it's basically just like Elsa was saying, it's this whole web of like guests and hosts and debts and favors between planets, and who's taking care of who and who can see who, and what are the planets' attitudes towards each other, who's testifying in court against the other planets. And the outer planets are just really not linked in with that system, right? So it's like Uranus rules Aquarius. Why? Right? I don't think there's a good reason for it. There's not the same kind of like symmetry and order and beauty that we see with, you know, the Thema Mundi. And so when we're using the outer planets, for me at least, it's a different way of looking at the chart. It's a different way of like experiencing the world and astrology. Not that it's not useful, but just that it is often, in my practice, best kind of separated. And the second point is that the thing that I really think traditional readings excel at is telling you exactly when something is going to happen. So when someone comes to me for a reading, I am like almost never talking about every planet in the chart. Like most of the time what I'm doing is someone will come to me and I'm like, okay, how old are they? You know, how close are they to their birthday? A lot of times people come like around their birthday. It'll be like a little birthday gift to themselves or whatever.
Solar return.
We'll talk about their solar return. We'll talk about their perfections. We'll talk about, you know, really those are like my 2 favorite things. And so what I'll do is I'll say like, hey, this is where the sun is in your chart. This is its attitude towards the other planets in the chart. And you can talk about that for an hour. And then someone's like, wow, this is so relevant to this specific moment in my life, right? And that to me is really kind of the weakness to the modern system, is that there will be transits and some solar returns and like secondary progressions, but the describing of the overall life and then saying, okay, when precisely will that happen, is weak compared to the Hellenistic system.
Yeah, and I'd say that's two things to highlight. Go Thema Mundi, and I will talk to you about the logo and the Thema Mundi here in a second. But that's one thing to this Pluto question for anyone who's like asking something like this, not just Marie, but we don't use them as rulers. That's one of
Yep.
the main differences. And
Yep.
the way we interpret them through myth is a lot different than your modern evolutionary. And I can't speak to all the moderns, but I know the evolutionary framework. And it's different. And it would be more similar to the Jyotish or the Indian astrology. But we don't use them as rulers. Like that's not what they're here for. They're almost like other important places in the system. We use them almost more like lots or like sensitive points or something like this.
They're like
Don't use them as
fixed
rulers.
stars.
Like fixed
Maybe.
star.
Like,
Yeah, that's a really great one because they're so slow moving. So
Yeah.
they'd be like a fixed
they're
star.
fixed stars, yeah.
And the way we use those are like a tight orb, and we use them in a very particular way. That's the thing about the filters of Hellenistic astrology. We use them in a very specific way. Thank you, Christopher, for becoming a member of the channel. Thank you so much. Oh my God, Jessica as well.
That just made me think of another thing, Elsa, and this is another thing that Schmidt will say, is that there are like innovation in Hellenistic astrology is valued at precisely 0. Like we're not trying to like invent something. We're trying to learn the rules and do the thing reliably again and again and again.
Indeed.
It's not like we're not really looking to like discover new techniques outside of the ones that are like in the books because we have our hands full. And it's just, like I really like don't like the whole like one is like the true astrology and the other one's useless. Like that's not true.
They're different.
But I do think that if we're trying to do one or the other, we should do one or the other, and we like really shouldn't mix them without being very careful about how we're mixing them.
Yeah. Yes, and that's exactly right, Alexander. So it's like, who is it? Oh my God, is it Schmidt that says this? Why am I like I'm drawing a blank? It's late, and I'm slightly disassociated because we're live. So
it is honestly scary.
So bear with me, okay? Bear with me, everyone. Yes, it is never ending. Like it's never ending learning. We were talking about what did you remind me?
Like innovating and mixing tradition.
Oh, the mixing. Yeah. So astrology is like a culture, like a language. Like let's say for a second, astrology is like a language. You don't say like French is better than English. You don't say like Hindi is better than like Italian. You say that they are good for different things, right? Like in one language, you might be able to express like romantic poetry in a certain type of way. In one language, you might like it because it's a more universal language, like English. It's spoken all over the world. Like there's different reasons for different languages, but that doesn't, and there's different grammars that go with the different
languages. And they're like molded by different contexts.
Yeah, and they represent culture. And this is why I want to talk about astrology as a language. Hit me up on my private Patreon, Language of the Stars. Okay, so astrology is like a language and like a culture. And it's like a language because it represents the culture within it, and it represents a certain expression of that culture that might be more available through speaking a certain type of language. Like, oh, there's not a word for that in English. What is that? You know? So it's like when we think of astrology as this like living word, even like this language, we can speak French and be clear. We can speak Spanish and be clear. We can speak English and be clear. But that doesn't mean that we would mix up all the grammars. You wouldn't have any idea what I was talking about. And I wouldn't
we wouldn't speak Esperanto.
Oh, well, I don't know, but we wouldn't probably say, I mean, of course there's like, you could go crazy and be like, well, what about, like all these languages that are like Creole, like it's like a mix or whatever. And there are certain mixes. Like I would say the early part of the Persian Arabic authors are very much like a Hellenistic mix. And so I'm not saying like their languages aren't mixed and languages don't evolve and cultures don't evolve and astrology doesn't evolve. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying like in a general point, like Matt was saying, if your astrologer teaches you how to do horary with Regiomontanus, stick with that for that one technique and you're going to get the best results. Like, you're not going to get the best results through communication by saying one English word and then one French word and one Spanish word to try to make a sentence. You're better off saying a sentence in the one language and then switching to the other language when you're trying to convey another idea. So that's what I would say a little bit about that.
Yeah, and that's exactly my point, is that like when we're trying to do something, we should be doing that thing, and we should like really be aware of, and this happens when I'm giving readings to astrologers sometimes, is I'll be like, you know, going through it in the way that I'm going through it, and then they'll say like, okay, but like I thought this means this, and I'm like, okay, kid, like let's just kind of, that's not wrong, let's just like put it to the side because it's true but part of something else, right? And so like when we're studying Hellenistic, when we're thinking about Schmidt, and a lot of what we're doing is we're like taking what we know, putting it over here for now. And Demetra says this like at the beginning of her book too, like we really want to do things on their own terms, and this is like what's so great about Schmidt, is that he like really kind of like shoves you into the shoes of Antiochus or of Valens, right? And so you're learning it in its own context, on its own terms, without saying, oh, I thought like Uranus signified this, right? And so it's like, yes, Uranus like can signify this, just not right now. Like,
yeah, and the way we're using it is going to be different. Let me just, I'm sorry, Chris. I want
to respond to Marine's thing.
Me too.
Yeah.
Marine, first of all, Marine, you're still here. What's up? Okay, and thank you guys so much for joining. Jessica and Christopher, thank you so much for joining. You guys now have Thema Mundi stickers, so stick them in the chat. So I just wanted to cover this Thema Mundi thing with Marine, and I'll have you also, Chris, respond to Marine, which is like this, you say holographic. So the Thema Mundi is like this very beautiful, it's called a teaching tool, but it's basically like the cosmos, like encapsulated, and everything about astrology, like in our way of looking at it, ensouled and encapsulated into this like beautiful gem, right? Which is where I got the idea for this logo that we use here on this channel, which is the Thema Mundi, and the top parts of the sign are represented by a gem. And the reason why I did this is to sort of encapsulate this, is one of our teachers, Adam Ellenboss from Nightlight Astrology, shout out, he would talk about turning the jewel. And we would talk about like how in astrology, we're playing a lot with light, the sun and the moon, the king and the queen, and you're playing with that in the Thema Mundi as well. And as you turn the jewel and your life goes, you're turning the facets of fate, and the light is going to hit and reflect different pieces and areas in different ways. You are like a private jewel. You are a gift and a special jewel that is worthy of being turned. And as you turn the chart, as you go through the chapters of life, as you reflect the light through the different facets of the gem, back to Marine, this holographic, sort of multi-dimensional, multifaceted, but also very particular way of sort of describing the life and accessing the life through this gem, this birth chart, and then on a deeper and bigger level, on a cosmic level, through the Thema Mundi. So we are all a piece of the Thema Mundi, sort of reflecting the cosmic animal back on itself. Christopher.
Well, I was going to say to that, which will not be matched by the poetry of your image.
Oh my God. Well,
so it's like, I liken it when you look at a chart, because the chart's just basically a circle with some symbols on it. And then it's almost like if you imagine like one of those steampunk characters where they got the glasses with the different lenses and they're changing all the lenses out. And it basically, you're just going to put on different filters and then start looking at the chart from different dimensions. And you'll pay attention to some things, you'll ignore other things, but then you go back and pay attention to those things you ignored. And each time you look at the chart from those different perspectives, you start to develop the dimensionality of the native that's in the chart. You'll start to see things, and then you bring questions to the description. You say, oh, well, what did you want to know about today? Oh, I really want to know about what's going on with my children. And then they'll say, oh, okay. And then they put those filters on the chart, and you'll look at the chart, and then an entirely rich textured story and narrative emerges that kind of matches what you've got going on in life. You're like, wow, how did you do that? And it's not like the astrologer going to sit there and just, this immediate oracle and say, oh, wow. It's rather, you're going to ask them a question, and then the astrologer will say, I think I know how to answer that question by looking at your chart. And then they just put the filters on and keep changing the filters until they give you an answer.
Yeah, exactly. And I think about it as like almost, like if you're doing the alchemy, right? Like if you're doing a distillation or making a potion or something like that, and you're trying to turn grain into vodka or whatever, like you're trying to turn the roses into essential oil or whatever it is. There's all these different processes and filters that it needs to go through to be this tiny specific little potion in the end or whatever. And that's sort of the distillation and the turning of there's the turning of the chart, and there's the turning of the jewel, and then there's like this distillation process that the astrology will bring it through the filters. It'll cook it down, it'll filter it once, it'll move it from 1,000 flowers or 10,000 flowers into this tiny little bottle of essential oil specifically for you, right? So it is a specific sort of medicine. It's a specific cosmology. Like the planets are speaking not to some general thing, but exactly to you, which is really beautiful, Chris, Scott, do we have anything to share? Let's go ahead and we're going to share Matt's channel here. Where are we? Here's Matt's channel. Thank you. You know what? Thanks to the mods. Thank you, Edie. Thank you, Jessica. You guys are the best. Thanks all the subscribers. Thanks for all the chatters. And if you're watching this on the replay, thank you so much for being here. We hope to do more lives and stuff. We're just kind of getting our feet wet, and we're like, oh, this is a great way to celebrate, a great way to like figure it out, a great way to come together, have a reunion, all the kind of like pieces and people from the channel to come together in community, which is like, of course, my very favorite thing. But check out Matt's channel. So the Astrologer's Encyclopedia here on YouTube, and we can shout out your handle on Instagram or on Twitter in a second. But Matt has a really like, the reason I haven't done a lot of videos on this channel is because Matt does such a good job with them over on their channel. So Matt does kind of like foundational videos over there. Like, tell us a little bit about, you go through the houses, the planets. Like, I know you haven't been active for a while.
I'm flattered. Yeah, it's been a while since I made a video. Again, I got busy with school, and then it's like now I'm gonna go to grad school, and so who knows when I'll make a new video. But a lot of what we're talking about here is, we're talking about, there's like all these specific filters and these ways of delineating, and we can tell you when. We're offering no, proof. So what I have done on this channel, I did like 25 videos or something, and I plan to do more in the future. But it's a lot of work. So I did videos on like each of the planets, just kind of like general videos on like, this is what the signs are talking about. This is what the houses are talking about. This is, I did a couple of like techniques, like I did, perfections and triplicity lords of the Sectlight. And then what I started to do, and I think what I would most recommend from my channel is I did these like in-depth looks at two charts, which were LeBron James and Cher. And so what I did was there was this method from Demetra George's Ancient Astrology Volume 2, where she would talk about, okay, this is like a really basic, easy way to get like a good delineation for a planet, like a good like 2-3 sentence thing. And then I would go to like times in life when that planet was the Lord of the Year, and lo and behold, it worked. So those videos were a lot of fun to make, and I highly recommend those ones in particular.
I also think for beginners, like you said, you cover the planets, right? You definitely cover the planets. you covered
I
the
covered like
house.
I covered like a couple of the houses. I think I did like 1 through 4.
Okay, but we cover the houses right here on this channel. We cover
Yeah,
the houses
yeah.
as we use Demetra George's book as a launching point, but obviously, like, of course, so we cover the houses here, but you covered the planets over there.
I did the planets, and what I did for that was I did and this is where like I really love this idea of like not innovating. Like I don't care about like new techniques. No, falsely listening to Schmidt. So what I did was I listed out like some significations that are, you know, you could like use as general for each planet, and then I just read from like 15 sources. And for that, again, thanks for Demetra. What I did was I just looked in her book, and then she has this whole table of like significations through time, and I just jacked a bunch of that, quoted it, threw it on a slide, and read it.
But I think it's a really great study companion for people. And if they don't have the book, it's really great. And if you are just joining the channel, or if you don't know a lot about astrology, even in the replay, it's just a great place to sort of like get your bearings and get your feet wet, or get your ground under you, or however you want to put that. And you do a great service with that channel. And I kind of think of the channels as like, at least for us, and this is the way we study as well, a lot of people get overwhelmed with astrology right away because they're like, there's so much to learn, and oh my God, and it becomes like overwhelming. This is just my personality though, of course. Like this is, to me, I'm like, yes, I have something that's not going to run out of juice. Like, I have something that I can do for like life, right? Like there's no amount of going too deep. There's never going to be enough. I'm always going to be like, that's what was yoga. It was like 20 years and you barely even touch the surface.
Yeah.
And for me, that's like exciting because I love studying. I love practicing. And so for me, I'm like, there's this never ending well that I can like drink from. And that's the way astrology is. So like, even with this channel or with Matt's channel, I'm like slow and steady wins the race. It's not about like weekly or daily content. It's just about like getting really interesting things and interesting people together like over time, you know?
And I think astrology, yes, is like so deep and complex and all this, but it's really 4 things. It's really planet, signs, houses, and how they relate, right? And so, and this is like one of the things that I really, really loved about Adam Ellenboss. I haven't listened to much of his stuff like lately, but one of the things that was like really like a balm for my anxious brain was keep it simple, stupid. Basically, was like you can go a long way keeping it simple, and you can like really trip yourself up by not keeping it simple.
You know, he used to tell us, don't aim for the bullseye, aim for the dartboard.
That was like, I like started crying. I was like, okay,
you aim for the board, you know, and back to Marie, where it's like, I know it seems like asking a general question is kind of aiming for the board, but Hellenistic astrology, oh my God, it's like aiming for the board. We still need to see the entire board, right? So Chris, you were going to say?
I was going to say, it's funny because my background is I've been studying under Ben Dykes as opposed to Adam Ellenboss, right? And then some of the
not as opposed to, they're very different teachers.
They're it's not opposed to, like not in opposition, but it's interesting because it is the basic thing is to stay to the basics. Look at the basic stuff, and then the other part is find yourself a group of astrologers where you can go to the mat over not mat, but go to the mat, like really wrestle with, like,
what does he say?
Right, go to the mat.
Consult with me.
What does the sextile mean? What does it mean when it's perfected? And you know, it's like, well, wait a minute. It's like, I thought the bounds of Mercury meant this, and really get into going, you know, like looking at these things and kind of beating your head against this stuff. Every great astrologer that you've encountered will have anecdotal stories about doing that thing with other people.
Yeah, it really is. It
Chris,
really is.
Do you want me to share your email on screen?
Yeah, sure.
Chris doesn't have a website yet, or
I don't have a website. No,
not yet. But word of mouth goes a long way in the astrological community. So I'm just going to put up Chris's email if you'd like to go for a reading, and you can also, Matt, is someone hitting you up on like Twitter? And here's Christopher.
I have deleted my Twitter app recently.
Okay. So anyway, you can reach out to Matt. How if people wanted to get a reading, are you doing them right now, Matt, or no?
Yeah, you can
Drop
email
it in
me
the chat. Drop your
where
email in the
to
chat.
put
So
this.
right now on screen we have Chris's Twitter, but if you want to get a hold of Chris, you can check out Chris's email and just go ahead and contact him directly. And then the same with Matt, you can contact them directly. We'll get the email up here in a second. And as for myself, I have my cool new website, so you can reach out to me there.
Cool website.
Thank
I
you.
thought I was like, wow.
That means a lot
maybe
coming in.
I put the effort in to put a nice website up. That would be great. So
It takes a long time. I've been promising the website since we started the channel a couple of years ago. It takes a lot of work. This is just version 1, but it means a lot to come from you. You have a highly sophisticated taste, so that means a lot. Thank you, Chris. Check out my website if nothing else. Even if you're not reading, getting a reading, check it out. And we have merch on there too. But just sign up for the email because I might be doing again special giveaways. And my contact form is right on there, so you can just ask me questions and whatever. We're pretty approachable here on the channel. Contact Matt at Linktree. Here we go. And
That link tree might be old. Just saying.
Oh yeah,
I
maybe.
put my email in there. I don't know if it
Did
showed
you
up
put
or
it in
not.
the private chat? Maybe.
I put it on. I went onto YouTube and did it.
Oh, okay, cool. Let me see if it's coming up here. There are
If
no
not,
accidents.
I'll put it in the private chat, and you can.
And I can copy paste it. If you're here, there are no accidents. You found your tribe. Jessica McConnell with the mic drop. Thank you so much. Yes, you found your tribe. Please stay. Please go ahead and like and subscribe, or just keep coming back. We have a whole plethora. I'm still in the background. Oh my God, I apologize, Mr. Mage and Celestial Priest Christopher Warnock. I apologize. I haven't gotten that video out to you guys yet. It's been a wild couple of months for me, but I'm working on it in the background. But anything from your Renaissance astrologers and talismanic priests like Warnock, or, we all study through, and I want to say, Dr. Benjamin Dykes, our friend Benjamin Dykes, who Christopher is studying with, an amazing astrologer who's also more of a what would you say, a Persian Arabic astrologer. So
yeah.
We have a variety of content here.
And I'll say my own esoteric background includes a little bit of the astrological magic, and
little.
I've had some spectacular results with Chris Warnock's Thabit Ibn Qurra book. I'll just say it's pretty heady. It's a short, little, brief book, but it taxes a lot of astrology skill to make it work. And when you do make it work, it's pretty spectacular.
And I really want his new talisman, the sun one. Oh my God, I want it so bad. I also want the Spica one. I've just had it. I think when I walked away, I because I've been holding one of his Mercury talismans today. Thank you so much, Christopher Warnock, for your amazing talismans. Let me get this copy and pasted. I will put Matt's email into the chat for everyone. I know. I also kind of need just a tiny break. I want to grab that talisman and re-up on my water. Do you guys want a movement break? You guys in the chat? Oh my God. I think I can play music. Hold on. Let me try this.
I might tap out.
Soon?
Yeah.
Me too. How about we do just a brief, let's do a brief 5-minute, a 2-minute chill moment. I'm going to put on a little music in the background. And then tell me if you guys can hear this. And then we'll come back and we'll do a closeout. We'll do a thank you and a closeout and everything for everyone. I know it's really late. I want to get everyone to bed, but there is a couple more announcements I want to make. It's not just going to be a closeout. There's another one announcement about tomorrow, actually. It's a astrology day, International Astrology Day, and there's a little something. So let me see if the music works. Matt, tell me if you can hear this. Can you hear it?
Kind of.
Is it really low?
It's really, really quiet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, move your bodies a little bit. Let's take a little potty break. We've all been sitting here. Dance it up. Get your water. We'll come back. We'll do like a 5-minute wrap up. Okay, see you guys soon. Matt, you want to? I'm turning off my camera, so I don't want to leave you. BRB, 5-minute BRB. Everyone, take a movement break. Get your Friday night dance on. Potty break. Oh yeah, I'm muted.
I'm muted too.
Cheers!
Here's
Cheers!
the water.
Cheers to getting hydrated, everyone. What a long stream. What an amazing stream. I look forward to doing more of these.
Yep.
I enjoy this. I want to do the mystery charts.
Mm-hmm.
Not now. Maybe
Mhm.
we'll see.
I have one
I'll give you some
planned.
cards, just not right now.
It's
You
not
know,
right
it's a
now.
lot for one stream. Like a lot happened tonight, and we needed to get a feel for the streaming itself. You know.
Yeah, I want to go back to just encourage people, if they haven't done it, to sign up. If you haven't done so already, check out the Project Hindsight, the astrology Robert Smith.
Roger Schmidt.
Roger
Sorry.
Smith. Boy, man. No, the Robert Smith astrology website, and the Eudoxus files argument. I thought it was mind blowing. Now, I can't say I can totally agree with it. I can see established members in the traditional astrology community having a visceral reaction to some of his ideas. I'm just going to say I can see that. I can totally get that happening. The ideas are worth considering. They're worth evaluating. And, would that we could, one of the problems that we have when we deal with some of the materials, like what Robert Schmidt has to say. Awesome, Maureen.
Maureen, I don't know if you're still here, but thank you so much. We love you so much. Maureen is a patron and a friend of the channel. Maureen Reed, have an amazing night. Sweet dreams. It's been so lovely that you were here. Thank you so much.
I was going to say that one of the things with the Schmidt materials is that the barrier to entry, right? And we're not talking like you could drop a lot of cash to get this material, but the truth is you have to get caught up with where he's at mentally.
Mm.
And you have to understand what he's talking about. You have to really kind of wrestle with the concepts that he introduces around Greek grammar, around Greek usage, around some of the philosophical ideas, some of the Platonic ideas, some of the Aristotelian ideas.
Same in the other cosmological model, being in
Yeah.
the zodiac, celestial grammar. Those are all
so
taught.
those are all the things. And he makes this like bombshell argument that the techniques of Hellenistic astrology, or Greek astrology, as he says it, is also the cosmology, and that the two are interrelated. So it's not. So there's a distinction between, say, we have a cosmological view of the world, and we're going to impose some astrological ideas on top of it, but that rather the astrological ideas and the cosmology are interrelated and mutually kind of occur in the same space. And that's worth looking at. That's like, if you ever wondered if we are engaged in this question, and all astrologers to a certain degree are engaged in this question of that Hermetic question of as above, so below, right? As within, so without, kind of thing. And that Hermetic question invokes a particular cosmology, and we don't spend enough time dwelling with what the cosmological implications of that are. And instead, we think about it when we do our astrology, but then we, leave our little study, leave our room, step away from our computer, and then just bounce back into a world where, somebody could say the mechanics behind the astrology are totally rational, and you would be stuck with a problem of having to agree with them.
Here we go, Christopher Warnock, Worldview. Check it out.
But and the interesting part is, we're so conditioned, and this is like, it goes so deep, because even as Brennan pointed out in a recent talk, but as Brennan points out, even translations of Plato will favor a worldview that astrology can't work in, and that favoring comes from a late emendation to the text, like in a late addition to the manuscript tradition of the text. And so one of the interesting pieces is that what Schmidt's doing is he's having us think in that traditional worldview, in that ancient worldview, and looking at things and looking at things in a particular way, and then seeing things that suddenly, like, oh, I see the geometric relationship in these different aspects. I see what it means to have Saturn here and Venus there. I see that there's some connection here, and then there's some relationship from out there to down here. And anybody who's played with any expression of astrology over any period of time, you begin to see hints of it in just what your study is, but you don't know how to, like, actually take that hint, open that hint up, and then step into that world.
Mm-hmm.
And like you were saying with Schmidt's work, I mean, I know we're like all Schmitten or Schmidt heads or like whatever. That does not mean I'll speak for myself. I think David would, and I want to get to our closing and everything. I think David would be different, right? Like, we're super besties and everything, but like, I wouldn't say every possible thing Schmidt has ever said, I am hook, line, and sinker. No, that's not, to me, that's not actually the point.
That's not
of a
the
good
point
teacher.
at all. Yeah.
The point of a good teacher is like to teach you enough to where you actually could even contradict them or bring about a good question or whatever it is.
Right.
Schmidt, what he does is he gets us fired up and thinking about things in a really new and deep way, and gives us something to push back against even. And I think that's a really profound, lesson of a teacher, and a really profound gift that our teachers give us, is to think well enough to even push back against maybe even them or their own ideas, so it makes it alive. That's what he does. He makes it come alive enough to either say, F you, I hate what you just said, or say like, absolutely, I resonate. So it turns you up, it gets you thinking, it makes it alive, it brings the word to life, it brings the practice to life. And that's what we hope to do with astrology in general. Like, that's what we love here on this channel, is bringing this kind of stuff to life, making, bringing the sacred into the mundane and back and forth, as above, so below, dedicating, like, my favorite Magician and the Fool, dedicating opening this stream to Hermes Trismegistus and Asclepius. Like, you know, they do that in their little like intros or whatever. Thank you guys so much for being here. All your profound insights, all your beautiful hearts, your little jewel mind and hearts. I wanted to say tomorrow is International Astrology Day or something like that. And Kepler is giving a free talk like they do every year. I'm going to be there. Chris is going to be there. You can register on Kepler College. Demetra is speaking. I think Dr. Benjamin Dykes is speaking.
We speak at 9 a.m. Pacific.
Who's the other big namer on the? They're all big names, but like
Hunter Buzzer, the Turkish astrologer, is speaking with Ben Dykes.
I know, but who's
there's a whole cocktail
of like really interesting.
We're the astromancers and
Kenneth,
astrologers. And
the Jyotish guy, Kenneth
Cole.
Yeah, is it Cole?
No.
That's Freedom Cole. I think you might be thinking of.
I
Jen Zart. That's what.
Jen Zart.
Thank you. That's what I was trying to think of. I was trying to think of someone in our world, Jen Zart. She's going to be there. It's going to be freaking amazing. I mean, it's overviews and it's like, it's always just fun to like, they have little hour talks and whatever. It's free. Kepler College, sign up. We're all, you know, going to be there. I just want to say a huge thank you to David and Katie for opening this stream and doing this reunion and celebration. So amazing to see you guys and have you on the channel. Thank you so much, Katie, Schmidt Katie. All right. Thank you so much for being here and, you know, giving us that exclusive interview and insight into the kind of like thoughts behind the site and where it's going. And thank you so much for dropping some of those lectures within the course. Super amazing. Here's part of the lineup. Thank you so much. Can we get a round of applause for our amazing moderators? Oh my God. Thank you guys so much. Jessica.
Kenneth Miller. That's what it is.
Good times, Marie. Marie, thank you so much for your question. Thank you for being here. Thank you, everyone who subscribed. That's so amazing to have you guys, not just your subscriptions and your likes throughout the past, but thank you so much tonight for the people who have joined the channel. It means so much. I'm a full-time astrologer, so this stuff is like, you know, it's not just like a side piece to my life. It is my life. And as, you know, the two of you know, like it keeps me busy. So thank you so much for the support. Thank you. And then Edie has the link in the chat for the Kepler College event. Jessica with a little planet Saturn. It's such a celebration for me. This stream, I think, went amazing. Thank you so much. I know it's late, Matt. Thank you for being here, Matt, from the Astrologer's Encyclopedia, and Christopher. Look for Christopher and I are interviewing soon to give you kind of a full bio of Christopher. We recorded one in Libra season of last year. It got lost.
Yeah, things went wrong. I
wonder it got lost. It was like
the eclipses were involved.
They definitely were. So we're gonna re-record, sit down with Chris, give like a deeper kind of like interview of Christopher and Christopher's work, and that will be coming out soon. We have a interview with Christopher Warnock coming out soon, an interview or a lesson with Martine Hermes. Hey, Martine, we love you. Thank you so much to the astrological community. Thank you all for spending your Friday night with us. And yeah, just it's really profound to have such a community. It's honestly really touching. I might be disassociating because I'm, you know, I do that on camera, but it's my biggest gratitude in life to have the two of you and David and Katie and the people in the chat, like my community, my astrological community and friends are a huge blessing. And it never dies down. Like I always feel it like deeply and viscerally in my heart. So thank you all so much for being here.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This was fun.
Yeah, it was really fun. We'll do more and maybe do like much more astro mystery charts.
Yeah, I want to do the mystery charts is a lot.
Q&A is like you can kind of like give a donation. We'll look at your chart or whatever. So there's a lot more to go. Only place to be. Thank you so much. All right, well, much love, and until next time, ciao.